All right. In the interest of getting shit started and not adding any more late points to my I count 16. Yeah, in the interest of not adding more late points, I'm starting the stream now, but I'm having some technical issues. I'm not sure why, so give me a second here. I'm trying to get shit to show up on my second monitor, but for some reason it doesn't want to do it. Give me a second. Casey, out. The fuck? Casey, out. 17? Alright. What the fuck? How's this just not... Come on. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, we did it. All right. Now we're good to go. It would have been very difficult to do this stream if that was not working. Very difficult. All right. I feel like I should be given some leeway there, personally. I was attending to important stream business. I might have even started it early if not for having the... Fuck, why is this not... If I wasn't having my tech issues. But, you know what? I'll be a good guy. We'll add the points. I'll do what I'm obligated to do. I'll do what I'm obligated to do. All right. Here we go. These points do be racking up. All right. Everybody. You guys excited? Today we're going to be ranking the top 30 One Piece characters of all time. Why is this camera so far to the side? It should be like at least here. What's going on here? Yeah. Here? I don't know where it's normally supposed to be at. This is good enough. For the moment. All right. So, we are going to be doing our top 30 of all time, ever, characters that ever existed. So, it's going to be a spicy one. Let's look at the late penalties first real quick. Here we go. All right. So, adding 17 points. Oh, shit. This puts me in some dicey territory. Okay. All right. So, we really cannot do this anymore. We can't be late anymore pretty much ever. Is what we're looking at here. Make Defense of Wano video. Let's add a stipulation here. I can upload whenever. Same as the Usopp video. Alright? I can't be messing with the YouTube algorithm too much just over be having to pay some late penalties, you know. But I will have to make it. Let's say I can upload whenever... We'll give a timeline. Within 6 months. That's fair. If I have to do this upload... whatever during LBAF. I think that's fair. Okay. That's fair. Alright. Wait, I don't like the formatting of this. There we go. All right. This stuff seems good. Yeah. I think that's solid. I think that makes sense. Now you guys actually have some interesting choices in terms of what you want to make me do. Now it's kind of juicy. Now it's kind of getting interesting. I think that now the hold or sell situation is actually a very real dilemma. You know, do we buy? Do we hold or sell? Let me see one thing real quick. I'll catch supers in a second. Just getting everything situated. Getting my affairs in order. Gotta get your affairs in order, you know? You know what I'm saying? If you don't have your affairs in order, then I don't actually know what happens. Nothing bad happens, but, you know, they're just not in order. Okay. So, these are our penalties that we're looking at. Let me just see real quick what's been the situation in terms of supers. Attilio, thanks for the 5. Also, let's get the stream links up to 100 real quick. Hi, Morj. I secured another... Okay, Attilio's wacky adventures, wacky romantic adventures is what we've been following. Any longtime stream viewers know that it's been a series of ups and downs for him. Last we checked in, it was something to do with a girl in chemistry that didn't quite work out. Was it a girl in chemistry? No, it was something else. It was a hinge date that was what happened. Okay. I secured another date with a girl tomorrow. What drink should I buy her? Whatever she wants, man. Whatever she wants. BTW, I told you about chemistry, calm college girl like 1.5 years ago. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I remember that. Then you had the hinge situation with the girl who was basically cheating on her boyfriend or something like that, or in an open relationship or something weird. So now you got a date with a girl tomorrow. What drink should you buy her? Whatever she wants. I've never been somebody that is just like, the lady will have a fucking vodka Coke or something like that. Whiskey sour. You know? Rum and Coke, sorry. Whatever she wants, man. Whatever she wants. Ooh, thanks for the 2. Can we see the doggos, please? No, it's just such a pain, because what the situation here is I would have to pick one up and carry them. On my right is this mic arm. I could move it all the way. And on the left is basically no space. Maybe I can grab one. Casey's heavier, but Harley doesn't like to be picked up. I could walk over and pick up Casey. I'll get Casey. Let me get Casey. Here, hold on. Good girl, Casey. Good girl. All right, that's it for a while. All right, we got one. Akash Panda, thanks for the 2. Let us insert end of story / epilogue characters into your list later. Yeah, you guys can vote on that. That's up to you guys. I'm not toying with that. That's murky waters right there. Nicholas Nick, thanks for being a Yonko to your member for 9 months. Hey, Morj, just found out how to send a member chat message after 9 months of being a member. I think I'm a bit dumb. Nicholas Nick, I thank you for the support. I can't say that you're wrong, but I still appreciate the support for the last 9 months. I hope that you continue to use the member chat function in the future. For those of you who don't know, yeah, if you're a member, you can you get, basically the same as a super, but it's already built into your membership support, so you automatically get highlighted chats, at least one each time. Zolden, thanks for a part King tier member for the last 16 months. Yeah, if you have not gotten your submission in for Pirate King tier, obviously I'll be recording the podcast very soon. For those of you who don't know, Pirate King tier, you get to basically submit questions that I will answer in my podcast, that I answer very in-depth, and you're free to answer or ask any sort of question. One Piece, not One Piece, other anime, manga, movies, video games, real life, NBA, my past to some degree, etc. It's just a more intimate format, and I answer everything very, very in depth. Every single person's question is answered, and every podcast is like an hour, hour and a half, and you get access to all previous podcasts. So, Zolden, make sure to get your submission in. I will be recording the Pirate King podcast very, very soon. You asked, hey, Morj, watch any more Fate Zero? Thoughts? I have watched a bit more Fate Zero. I think I was hotter on it towards the beginning. I like it enough. I like it. I definitely like it. I think I was definitely hotter on it towards the beginning. I'm excited to see how everything turns out and like the final battles, matchups, and everything like that. What happens to all the characters? I know it's a bit more of a tragic conclusion. I think I've been a little bit up and down in terms of how I'm enjoying some of the character writing dynamics, etc. I think that I truly feel like at the end of the day, the most interesting aspect of it all is I think I enjoy it mostly for the plot, the premise, the action, kind of the moves that different characters are making and everything. I think I enjoy it first and foremost for that. I think even with this one, even though I like the characters and the character writing better than the other Fate series, Unlimited Blade Works, I still am not enamored with it. You know what I realized something about One Piece while watching Fate Zero. So I just finished a flashback of a certain character. That took 2 episodes. I can say the character, I guess. His name is Emiya Kiritsugi. I finished his flashback. 2-episode flashback. Bored out of my fucking mind watching this flashback. Bored out of my fucking mind. I realized something about One Piece. I think Oda is genuinely the best to ever do it when it comes to backstories. In like, period. I think the best to ever do it in terms of backstories because it really made me think. I was like, why was this backstory so fucking boring? Like, why was it so boring? I really think that Oda is good at really 2 strong aspects of backstories. Okay, no, I think the first and foremost one is that Oda is phenomenal at writing backstory characters that are very big, vibrant, likable deeply likable personalities that he figured, like, he makes you love them very, very quickly. And he puts a lot into the storytelling behind, like, it's not just, oh, we have to establish, character A, character A really liked character B in the past because there were this father figure, mentor, parent figure to them or something like that, and then they lost him. Because that's basically, like, just generic anime backstory. I honestly, there are very, very, very few anime manga backstories I can think of, period, that I genuinely think of as good or memorable. Almost always they feel remarkably generic, very shallow. You kind of know exactly how things are going to play out. They never move me. The difference is that it made me think back, like, just something as simple as Chopper Hero Look. You go through the Chopper Hero Look storyline, and like every single beat of it, Oda has thought of storytelling elements to make you feel strongly one way or another. Like right off the bat, showing Chopper ostracized by the village. That makes you feel strongly negative, and he does it very quickly, like kind of sad. Establishing Hero Look as this quack doctor. It's funny, it's zany, big personality, likable. He's adorable in his own way, and then him taking off all his clothes to show Chopper he's never going to hurt him. Like that, right? Like 2 chapters in to the backstory, like very early in the backstory, already you're seeing like a very big, misguided but lovable personality, and you just see like the lengths that he's going to for this character that he's never met. It immediately attaches you to Hero Look, and then just the dynamic between Chopper and Hero Look. It's written. It all goes by very quickly, but it's so many little scenes and montages that are funny, endearing, draw you into the character dynamic, really make you feel a lot for Hero Look and what he represents. Oda's really, really good at just writing these backstory characters that in the back, like, they're amazing characters and they're written to just exist for 5 to 10 chapters and then just die. And Oda's, I think, the only mangaka that I know of that is regularly able to consistently do that with these backstory characters so frequently. And then the story and plot of the backstories is usually very, very engaging in that Oda's always trying to make you feel strong emotions at every single turn. Like, what I was just feeling like watching this 2-episode long shitty-ass backstory in Fate Zero, again, I like a lot of other aspects of Fate Zero. I really enjoy the series, but this 2-episode backstory, just dull as bones. It was just very somber from start to finish. It's very slow with how it works, and it's not really making you do much to attach you to certain characters. It just expects you to care because the character who's going to experience the tragedy of the backstory cares. That's pretty much it. And you kind of know the beats that's going to play out as is. And it's kind of crazy because it's even just like really good mangaka, right? Like, it's not just that. It's like really good mangaka, like Hunter x Hunter. Phenomenal, like Togashi, phenomenal writer, does many things better than Oda for sure, and is able to write really powerful emotional storylines for sure. 0 for 2 in terms of sad backstories. And he's attempted it twice. Kurapika's backstory, generic as fuck. Like, you already know what it is heading into it. Very generic. It's just like, okay, yeah. Phantom Troop backstory. I'm not going to spoil everything that happens, but it's kind of just like, yeah, oh no. Like, it's tragic, right? But the tragedy is expected. In One Piece, the tragedy, you already know it's expected. Oda will often tell you what happened well beforehand. And then the story itself and the characters are very, very powerful and engaging. Like, you come to love Hirolook over the course of that backstory. You come to love Corazon over the course of the backstory, right? You come to love Nolan and Kogara's dynamic over the course of the backstory. Phantom Troop's backstory, I couldn't tell you the fucking name of the girl that died. I believe that even people who say that it's like a really, really good backstory couldn't tell you why they like what's so special about the, like, it's just, oh, we needed a character to whatever. I guess I spoiled it a little bit, but don't worry, you're not really missing out on anything. In general, that's the case. If you want to cheat and say Golden Age is the best backstory, to me that's cheating because that's not generally what we're talking about when we're talking about, like, it technically is a backstory, but it's only a backstory in the sense that, like, the story almost begins with a flash forward, I would argue, rather than it being a traditional backstory. The Golden Age is a fucking long as fuck story. It's a full-ass story arc, right? Like, it's not the same. At that point, you're just comparing a full story arc to something else, right? I'm talking about backstories in terms of actual traditional backstories where it's a short story that is a breakaway from the main narrative that you cut into for a little while. Oda is genuinely the only author I know of in the manga anime sphere who is consistently able to actually use backstories effectively to generate emotion and not just tell you more information about characters and not just tell you that you're supposed to feel sad or supposed to feel certain emotions and not just serve a exposition purpose. Continuing on. Did I make people upset with that take? Sarasa, but true. Tell me Sarasa is a great character like a Hirolook, or a Corazon, or a Bellamere, or a fucking Saul before he came back to life. Like, tell me. You know that's just not the case. You don't have to get into your, like, you know, Hunter x Hunter undies about this in a twist. Like, I already acknowledge Hunter x Hunter as being much better than One Piece in many different categories and able to do certain emotional storylines in a much more nuanced way than One Piece. But in terms of backstories, that's not his strength. I think that's not his strength. I think that Togashi needs more time to develop what he does. I think Oda works better with big personalities, big character moments, very expressive scenes, and setting up a reason to care in a short period of time. Different strengths. Yeah, the Hunter x Hunter girl is basically what you call it. Stormy says, Sarasa is a better character than anyone in Kaido's backstory, in my opinion. I agree. Like, okay, I'm not going to say every one of Oda's backstories is a banger. Not every single one. But, like, come on. Senor Pink? Like, come on. It's just... like, he's got so many good ones that I think we can excuse some of the weaker ones. Continuing on, I agree. Almost everything in any manga ever written is better than Kaido's backstory. So you got me there. I will happily give you all that. I think they're joking with Kaido's backstory, by the way. Let's not get all upset over that. But yeah, I think Oda's just the best at backstories from what I have read. I've not read Gintama, but I've read parts of Gintama. So I read, for example, what's the dad's name? What's the dad's name who's known as the strongest? You know? I'm fucking blanking on names right now. I read the backstory of his wife. She was from that planet. The family that they had, her death. It's like a backstory that it's fine. It's a sad backstory in that, like, I think a lot of manga treat it as basically like, oh, well, if you meet a character in the backstory and then they die, that's it. That's the sad backstory. Whereas I think One Piece goes, like, Oda really, really tries hard to write very, very, very strong scenes, moments, etc., endearing you to the characters very deeply before then thinking of very creative journeys to the character's demise to craft a scene that's equally as impactful for their end, in a way that's not just like, okay, the character dies, but like really, really trying to think of a scene that's particularly heartbreaking and tearjerker for and emotionally gut-wrenching for the end, right? Like, Hiriluk's final words are never going to be forgotten. Saul's final moments, when they were his final moments, would never have been forgotten. Like, you could ask any One Piece reader, even if they haven't gone back and read or watched any of those moments in God knows how long, you could ask them, like, what was Saul's final moments? They would be able to tell you, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. Dandadan has good backstories and character writing. I am not far enough into Dandadan to compare, but I thought the Acrobat Silky was phenomenal. I really, really like that. So if Dandadan keeps giving stuff like that, I'd really, really enjoy. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going because that's not what the stream's about. But I do think that, I do think that just watching the Fate Zero stuff, I was like, why do I have to watch these 2 episodes? Why didn't I enjoy this backstory? And then I really thought, I was like, I don't think I ever enjoy backstories in any anime manga, almost ever, except for One Piece. It's very rare. Dandadan was a great example. I did like Acrobat Silky a lot. Okay, continuing on. Tom, thanks for the 2. Vanderdecken plus NL equals throw the moon at someone. Vanderdecken plus NL equals throw the moon at someone. What? I don't even understand what that means, Tom. Vanderdecken plus NL equals throw the moon at... What does that mean? Keith Edge, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Hey, Morj, you should watch Grand Line's video on when Elbaf was not originally planned. May have an impact on how you view the story planning. But Elbaf was planned. Elbaf is probably the most planned storyline in One Piece, besides Laugh Tale. Does he have like a quote by Oda that it's not planned or something? Because literally Elbaf is the storyline that they've kept talking about since fucking Little Garden, and they've kept talking about it and kept talking about it and kept talking about it, and they don't fucking shut up about it. And then they fucking get to like. And in the arcs preceding Elbaf, they're talking about it. In Whole Cake Island, they're fucking talking about it. Most likely the fucking 4th Road Poneglyph is going to be in this arc. So it's just like, I don't really know what that means. Is there an Oda quote that I'm missing? Joyous Boys, thanks for the 2. How would you feel if Shanks were the clone? I mean, that doesn't really change anything. That's still just, that's maybe interesting in its own way. It doesn't really matter which one's the clone at the end of the day, right? Ray Ochia, thanks for the 5. Hey, Mr. Morgerson, I missed last stream, so I have to ask, did you watch the Bleach finale? I still have not watched the Bleach finale. I think it's because I'm watching Fate Zero, and I'm enjoying Fate Zero enough that right now, anytime I've got a little bit of time to watch a bit of anime, I'm more inclined to watch a Fate episode at the moment than the Bleach finale. I think just because I still like Bleach better. Like, I'm more invested overall in Thousand Year Blood War, but... right now, I'm kind of like hooked by the plot of Fate. So I think the bigger thing is that, yeah, I think when you're hooked by the plot of something, then your natural inclination is to keep watching that. Whereas with Bleach, while I really, really like Thousand Year Blood War in the anime a lot, I was a manga reader. I read the manga, so I still know the gist of what's happening in the next couple episodes, the 2 episodes I haven't watched. I know that the anime added new content, so I'm excited to see that. but I don't have that same itch to see it because, like, it's just the way, I guess, human nature works. It's like, oh, I'm itching to find out what happens next in Fate Zero. Whereas with Bleach, it's kind of like, oh, I'm very curious to see what they added in the anime. And even though I like Thousand Year Blood War in the anime overall better than the Fate series I'm watching, I don't, like, I'm kind of like, okay, I'll watch that. I can watch that whenever. I'll watch that whenever I'm done with the series I'm currently watching, probably. So I'll get to it probably soon. I'm probably going to be done with Fate in the next few days. I've only got, I don't know. I think I'm in the home stretch, maybe like 8 episodes left or something. Maybe something along those lines. Ray Uchiha, thanks for the 5. Hey, Mr. Morj. Oh, no, we covered this. I just answered your question. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. Don has good back. Yeah, we covered that. Covered that. All right. All right, everybody. All right. Did they change a lot from the manga and the Thousand Year Blood War anime? Asked Almighty Lambo. They changed quite a bit. I think the biggest thing that they changed is not just new content, but the presentation. The presentation in the manga, everything just felt like a never-ending stream of BS. And it also felt very poorly paced, very choppy at points. In the anime, they just smoothed out the edges and then also added a level of artistry to the presentation of everything. They also did a lot to try and make Thousand Year Blood War feel like a very poignant, very weighty, very serious work. Whereas in the manga, it felt a lot more like silly bullshit one after another. But it turns out with a fresh coat of paint, you know, like a lot of stuff that was ridiculous in the manga can actually feel very, very powerful and like a legitimately serious work. Like, I think they did a lot for the tone. I think they cut a lot of the... I never felt like Bleach was good at comedy ever. So they did cut a lot of the comedy. That's not to say that, only a series is good. Obviously, One Piece does phenomenal with its gags and stuff like that. I think some series, like Chainsaw Man, that actually have phenomenal comedy, the anime goes too far in trying to cut that out because it misunderstands the tone. But Bleach is a series where, like, taking the bones of Thousand Year Blood War and then trying to turn it into something much more weighty and serious, and that means cutting some of the cringy, poor Bleach comedy. I think that did wonders for it. So it's a lot of small changes, and then on top of that, they added some additional content. But surprisingly, the additional content isn't the main reason that I think it's so much better. Some of the battles were exactly the same as the manga, but it's just how everything was done, the care that was taken with it. Again, the presentation just matters so much. The atmosphere that comes with it, the production, the feel, the tone, all of that, the pacing, can turn stuff that I thought was silly in the manga into enjoyable in the anime. For example, Lila Barrow's fight, without getting any further into it. At least how the fight ended. The first half of the fight was good no matter what, anime or manga. It was the way it ended that most people thought was stupid in the manga. And in the anime, I still thought it was stupid, but it was done in a way that was so high effort that I was able to turn off my brain and be like, even if how this is happening is stupid, it's still really, really cool, very visually enthralling. The scene itself just feels really, really powerful. It can get you to let go of certain things. Nerve AMV Maker, thanks for the 10. Do you think we'll ever see Shanks and Mihawk fight? People act like this will never happen, but aside from the main characters, I feel like it's the most referenced matchup in the story. I don't think it's the most referenced matchup in this. I mean, I think readers reference it a lot, but in the series itself, I guess it's referenced because, like, Mihawk first meets Shanks and refers to their past duel, and then Whitebeard refers to it as well. So maybe I think if we get a flashback, to either Shanks or Mihawk, I think that it will be a snippet of one of their flashbacks. I think if it's Mihawk's flashback, I think it might be the most important part of his flashback. If it's Shanks' flashback that we see it, I think it'll be part of like a general montage of events, so we might not get much of it. But we should get to see, like, I think getting in either, like, it's an important enough event that I think if either of those characters is getting a flashback of their life, then we should get to see it happening, if not necessarily the conclusion. I think we should get it confirmed that Mihawk won, although obviously that is the implication by his title, but I just think that it would be... I don't think Oda should just show them clashing off screen or something and then just not really mention as the backstory goes on what happened. I think it's important just for the people to confirm Mihawk, like, just confirm, yeah, Mihawk defeated Shanks in the sword duel, got the title. I think that's important. I think either of their characters getting a flashback, and I do believe that, I think that Shanks getting a flashback is pretty much guaranteed with the amount of story focus he's getting at this point. I think that Mihawk getting a flashback, there's a solid chance of it. I think there's a solid chance, because like even Buggy got a mini flashback. I think we could get like if Mihawk gets a flashback, I think it would be like a half chapter type flashback. You know what I mean? Like maybe even during his duel with Zoro or something. Curtis Charles, thanks for the 2. Hey, Morj, love your streams. Robin's the MVP of Jaya. Yeah, if the Jaya arc, I would... I think Nami's the MVP. Well, no, Nami's the MVP of Jaya. Because I think if they don't have Nami, then they just die traveling up the knock-up stream. Literally. It all comes down to Nami saving them. I think she's supposed to be the MVP of that arc because the arc is kind of written... That and the Skypiea storyline kind of click together to be a very important storyline for Nami. She's the one. That's why the story concludes with her and Luffy essentially being the duo that go up to defeat NL and everything like that. It's supposed to be a Nami storyline from Jaya to Skypiea, because a lot of the character focus is like she's the one that really grows because she's the one that's the most grounded of the Straw Hats, and so when the idea of an island in the sky comes up, she has to essentially, the story is essentially her having to broaden her horizons with her not necessarily believing at first, thinking it's ridiculous, not really wanting to give in to that sort of fantasy, but at the same time, she needs to be able to take Luffy wherever Luffy wants to go. And so that kind of becomes the thread for her character throughout Jaya, which is basically like, even if she doesn't necessarily believe, she has a captain that believes, and in order to be the best possible navigator for him, she can't just be taking them wherever the log post goes. She has to be able to take him as far as his dreams go, right? So I think that's the beauty of Nami with Jaya. So it starts with her kind of viewing everything as ridiculous with the sky, and she's very adamant, we're not going to Skypiea, etc. She's arguing against Luffy about Skypiea. She's trying to dissuade him. And then by the end of the Jaya arc, it concludes with the scene of them like she's terrified. She's committed to riding up this knock-up stream and everything, but once it gets going, the continued dialogue is, we're going to die if this doesn't work. We're going to die if this doesn't work. And Nami just takes the reins, and she's just like, we're doing this. Do this with the sails. We're going to ride this current. We're going to ride this up to the sky, etc. Like, she just takes over and goes into full navigator mode. And at the end, like, she's like, who's the navigator of the ship? They're like, Nami is. And, like, that's an important scene because it just establishes that, at the end of the day, even if she didn't believe, even if she argued and fussed and complained the whole way through and tried to push back with Luffy, at the end of the day, she did go along with his dreams and committed to playing the role of navigator to the best of her ability and got Luffy where his dreams wanted to take him, right? And that's why it's an arc largely about... That's why it's so important that she was in the bar scene as well, because she's a core part of that whole dreams versus realism debate in the Jaya arc, right? Like Bellamy laughing at characters like Luffy who believe in like the Sky Islands and stuff like that. And Nami also doesn't believe in the Sky Islands, right? But at the end of the day, she's always going to be on Luffy's side rather than the realist side like Bellamy when it comes down to it. So her being there for that scene and seeing Luffy's resolve to always be committed to his dreams, etc. Blackbeard commenting that she played her part well in that scene as well. Like, Jai is really a Nami storyline at the end of the day. But Robin was very useful in them catching the Southbird and getting information and everything. But, if they didn't have Nami, they just die. So Nami is supposed to be the MVP of it. It's supposed to show at the end that, like, at the end of the day, Luffy will be able to succeed and get where he needs to go because he has a navigator like Nami who's going to be able to get him there. Thanks for your first ever super, though. I hope that was a good answer. All right, continuing on. Jay says Lilibaro was trash. Agreed. It was trash in the manga, but I thought this fight scene in the anime was genuinely beautiful. Like, it looked really fucking cool. In the anime, I was just... Because I enjoyed Shunsui's half of the fight, and I thought that it should have ended there, in the manga and in the anime. But then the anime, they had the whole episode with the bullshit sword and everything. I don't feel like I'm spoiled. Like, it's fucking Bleach. It's been out forever. The fucking bullshit sword that defeated Lilibaro, and it was just like, you know what? It's okay in the end. It's still stupid, but it was so visually stunning, and the scene was so cool, and like, I think I'm just a sucker for like how they animated his energy blast and everything like that, and the giant trumpet. I was just like, this is cool. So I kind of rolled with it at the end. 1,000 Year Blood War Part 4 will have the most new content, and that's the part that needs it the most. So I'm definitely interested in seeing. I want to see an Aizen Bankai. I've seen, like, if you go to the Bleach subreddit, these, like, the Bleach fans fucking piss me off to no end. If you go to the Bleach subreddit, they're literally, they're just hyped up about the fucking Hell arc. They're just like, oh no, Oda's probably, like, not Oda, fucking Cuba's probably, they're like, Cuba won't have Aizen's Bankai in 1,000 Year Blood War because it makes more sense for him to want to save that for the Hell arc. It makes more sense for... It's like, do they have any idea how lucky they are that their shittily written conclusion to that series is getting such a beautiful, like, remodel? Right? Like, 1,000 Year Blood War was a perfectly good conclusion to Bleach. It, like, if you consider plot-wise how it closed everything out and what it did for most characters, right? It was just purely executed in the manga. But story-wise, this is it. This is the peak for you guys as Bleach fans, okay? You got your shitty ending. It's being fixed. This is where all the plot threads close. This is where all the character threads pretty much close. This is where Ichigo can't learn he's any more races. He's done. He's Quincy, Shinigami, Human, Fullbringer, Hollow. He's all of them. He marries Orihime. He does everything. What, like, you're getting a beautifully animated rendition of this final arc. All the storylines are closing up. You do not, like, why would you want to be so greedy and be like, oh, but we should still get a Hell arc? You don't want it to go down the Boruto route. You don't want it to go down the Boruto route where they're just writing another story arc to write another story arc. And if you think the powers get extra BS-y and like absurd in 1,000 Year Blood War, you know Kubo's going to think of some like absolute ridiculous shit for the Hell arc that's just going to make no sense, and nobody's like, fucking Getsuga Tensho is not going to be doing jack shit, and we're going to need extra, like, if you thought we need plot devices to solve this Hell, like the fucking 1,000 Year Blood War situations, it's going to be a string of plot devices for that. Like, why would you even be saying, like, oh, no, we want to see Aizen's Bankai saved for the Hell arc? Like, what? So you can see it in 20 years? I don't know if if Kubo writes it, you know how fucking long it would take to just get to the finale of something like a Hell arc in the manga? Where Aizen's Bankai would presumably be shown? You're saying, like, you want to wait like a decade? We don't want it right now. I think Kubo should really keep his cards close to his chest and save it for the finale of the Hell arc. This is it. This is your GOAT's time to shine. This is it, all right? This is his time, all right? This is Bleach at the peak of what it's going to be. If it gets a Hell arc, it's not going to be as well written as what we're getting right now. It's going to be some tacked on shit that he did not have a clear storyline for because he closed everything already in 1,000 Year Blood War. He's getting to rewrite it to make it perfect, right? Hell arc is going to take fucking forever how it happens. It is more likely than not it's going to be a Boruto type situation than anything else. I fucking guarantee Ichigo's not beating the bad guy. It's going to be his fucking 10-year-old kid. It's just like, this is it. Like, what do you got? And the anime for it's not going to come out for 2 decades, right? If the manga is going to be a decade out to finish, if it's coming anytime soon, the anime is going to be God knows how long. Like, you guys should just be happy with what you're getting now. It pisses me off because I want to go into that subreddit and be excited and be like, oh, what's Aizen's Bankai going to be? I want to read stuff about that. And they're fucking a bunch of like they're too high up on their horses now. They're like, no, we're not going to get Aizen's Bankai in Core 4. Kubo, it just wouldn't make sense. Kubo should really save that for the Hell Arc. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? You don't even know if that shit's going to exist or if it's going to be good or how many fucking years it would take to write or whether Kubo would ever even fucking finish it before he decides to retire, let alone if it ever shows up in an anime adaptation. They think because Thousand Year Blood War is going good that now everything, like, they're so fucking, I'm just like, no, why can't you guys just be happy with what you have and let's all just sit around in a circle and get hype over Aizen potentially getting his Bankai shown? It pisses me off because you want to be able to go into the Bleach subreddit and see like enthusiasm for like things to come, and then instead shit you see is like just no, that needs to be saved for the Hell Arc. No, that needs to be saved for the Hell Arc. No, that would contradict Can't Fear Your Own World. They're so fucking up their own asses. They talk about this fucking light novel that is fucking barely canon at this point. It is going to contradict Can't Fear Your Own World. Nobody fucking knows what that is. Oh, like, no. Anyway. All right, sorry. I had to rant about the Bleach fans for a minute. They just don't know what they have. Anyway, I hope we get Aizen's Bankai in Core 4. Fuck Bleach fans who think that it needs to be saved for some bullshit arc that may never fucking come. And Kubo would, even if it started, it would likely never even get to a part where we get Aizen's Bankai, because I can't imagine Kubo getting it that far. Eric Trelato, thanks to the tube. Do you think Mihawk's surge is only from new fans? The Mihawk surge. I don't know what you're referring to, man. I think that the Mihawk surge. Actually, okay, if there's been a Mihawk surge, I think the simple reason you see more Mihawk support nowadays is in terms of the Shanks versus Mihawk argument is because for a long time, like just narratively okay, if you go pre-Wano, let's go pre-Wano, okay? Pre-Wano, Mihawk had very little going for him in terms of several things. He had his title, obviously, but Shanks had so much more hype in the story in terms of the scenes that he got, the clashes that he got, the feats that he is, like the effect that he had on other characters, how much characters talked about him, how much characters hyped him up. Mihawk had the title World's Strongest Swordsman. That was what he had, but then the problem was that on paper, every time he was shown, it was Oda kind of like not treating him like a Yonko caliber character, right? It was like Mihawk's fighting Vista. Mihawk's getting used to hype up Jozu. Crocodile is stalling Mihawk. Like, it's weird shit, right? It just, the title, he had the title, but he was not given, like, post, like, in Marineford, he was basically treated with no aura, and then he didn't really have anything to do for hundreds of chapters after that. So, for a long time, it was basically like, Shanks is probably stronger than Mihawk. The conflict was like, but the swordsmanship, that like, Mihawk's a swordsman. So there was like lots of debate. Like, that was the point in time, a lot of people still thought Shanks might be a Devil Fruit user, because it was unknown. So it just felt like Shanks was being portrayed as stronger overall, but we knew that Mihawk had the title, so fans were trying to reconcile that. And we still didn't know the details of Haki for a long time. However, Wano came, and then three things happened. Three things happened, Eric. Listen. The three things that happened were, first, it was explained how a black blade works, right? So that finally gave Mihawk something that was truly special. It wasn't hyping Mihawk directly, but it did factually hype him indirectly just by sheer statement that only Samurai Ryuma was able to create a black blade, and that's the highest tier of swordsmanship. So it's like, oh shit, Roger doesn't have a black blade, Shanks doesn't have a black blade. The only fucking dude we know in the One Piece universe right now with a black blade is Mihawk. That was huge. So that happens, number one. Two, Zoro was confirmed to have Conqueror's Haki. He became an advanced Conqueror's Haki user on the roof. Any ability that Zoro gets immediately confirms that, not confirms, that's a strong word, but like it's almost silly to think that Mihawk wouldn't have that as well, especially when Zoro talks about, the fact, like, I have Conqueror's Haki because I'm on my way to becoming the world's strongest swordsman, right? So that was number two. That was a long time point against Mihawk, where a lot of Shanks fans would argue that, like, Mihawk probably has better sword skill or something, But like a lot of people didn't believe that Mihawk would have Conqueror's Haki. If you go back into older conversations and such, there was debates on what it means to have the will of the king. People talked about how Mihawk was a loner, so it didn't really fit the Conqueror's Haki. Like there was lots of vague interpretations on what it meant to be a conqueror. So the fact that Mihawk wasn't a Conqueror's Haki user, a lot of readers would use that to be like, Shanks probably just is so much better at Haki that he's better than Mihawk overall. Okay. Wano confirmed that Conqueror's Haki, Zoro has it, therefore Mihawk likely has it, and 2, it's part of swordsmanship, right? Like, it's not like Zoro's going to turn off Haki when he's fighting Mihawk, right? So, that's 2 things. Black Blade confirmed. Conqueror's Haki, and likely very top-tier Conqueror's Haki user confirmed. Things that Zoro does indirectly also hype Mihawk, like scarring Kaido, etc. And then finally, number 3 was the bounty reveals, where it was established that, like, Mihawk factually, no dispute. I mean, it's the author communicating to us with what the Marines are saying. Mihawk is better fighting with a sword than Shanks is fighting with a sword, right? So that means anything Shanks does, like taking out Kid or whatever, Mihawk, we can expect, can do that at the very least, right? So, like, it basically stuff like Mihawk failing against Vista to take him out easily or failing against Jozu to take him out easily. It kind of confirms that, like, Mihawk could have done those things, you know? And he is definitely better with the blade, like just doing sword stuff than Shanks, right? So it's not a surge in terms of Mihawk fans. It's just there's been a factual surge in terms of material for Mihawk to work with that hypes him as in the argument that he would be above Shanks. So that just naturally happens, Eric, with any character. Like if we are to see more feats from Dragon or things hyping up Dragon, you will see more people advocating for Dragon. That's just going to happen. That just makes sense, you know? It's not out of the blue, like, oh, a whole bunch of Mihawk fans joined the community. It's just we've gotten more information, and likely people who were already fans of Mihawk or fans of Zoro in the past now have more things to argue or debate about in terms of putting Mihawk above Shanks. Does that make sense? All right. The Happy D says Mihawk likes to toy, literally his introduction. That's true, but that's not how he's talking to or treating Vista. So it's just like there's a very different attitude Mihawk has when he's talking to Zoro. Like when he's talking to Zoro or Don Krieg, like that was part of the deal with Mihawk at Marineford. We as the reader had to just make essentially a huge leap and just say that Mihawk could stomp these characters, but he's just choosing not to. But there's nothing at all about Mihawk's portrayal, how Oda's treating his statements, his personal expressions, like his reactions or anything like that in Marineford that on paper suggests that Mihawk is in any way toying with these characters, right? Like, the way Mihawk talks when he's fucking up Luffy at Marineford, that sounds like he's toying with Luffy. It doesn't sound like that. Just objectively reading, there's nothing that makes it sound like that when he's talking to Vista. There's no statement in there. Essentially, if we did not already know that Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman, if you're reading the interaction between Mihawk and Vista just in a vacuum, it sounds like it's 2 fucking equals or close to equals talking, which is just absurd with what Mihawk should be. So that's why Marineford did a lot of damage to Mihawk's persona, because you essentially have to, like, we have to ride his title really, really hard to just be like, okay, this interaction between Mihawk and Vista, where Mihawk's treating it as though, like, this is like an on-even footing sparring duel or whatever, we just have to know in the back of our heads that that's bullshit, even though nothing on page actually indicates that. We just have to know that it's bullshit, right? It feels extra absurd when it's like, even if Mihawk's toying with him, we know enough about Yonko-level characters at this point that, like, it should take so little effort for someone like Kaido or Shanks or Big Mom to beat Vista that it just doesn't make any sense. So it's kind of just like, we just kind of have to headcanon why Mihawk was acting the way he did in Marineford. That's the only way. Marineford did a lot of damage to Mihawk's reputation. I say all this because I used to be a Mihawk over Shanks person for a long time. My opinion changed over time, I think, over the course of I think Marineford shifted because I began to realize what Shanks represented in the story. And then I started viewing them as about equal. And then I think the further and further the story's gone, I think it becomes more and more likely that Oda is shaping up Shanks to simply be the end-all, be-all good guy in the story, him or Dragon at this point. Like, Shanks is kind of filling the same niche that Whitebeard did before. Like, it's almost a passing of the torch in terms of what they represent in the One Piece story. I don't think that, like, Shanks is essentially the type of character that you would have the big bad guy of the story defeat in order to establish how strong they are, like a la Blackbeard or whatever. Mihawk is never going to be that guy. If Mihawk is defeated by some other, like, I just don't think that that's, well, never is a strong word. I think that that's more likely than not the way the narrative is portraying the two characters. What we do know is that Mihawk is the best with anybody at a sword. If they fight with swords or whatever, Mihawk wins. At the same time, we're also being heavily implied that there is more to Haki that we have yet to see, and that Shanks is likely the ceiling of Haki in the story, at least on the good guy's side. That's also seemingly been implied so far. That's why I lean Shanks over Mihawk in terms of if I had to guess, but I would not be surprised if Mihawk ends up stronger than Shanks. I'm just saying if I had to guess right now. Again, my frustrations are usually just with Mihawk fans who treat it as though it's an open and shut case. That's the thing. And then they go, like, you just don't hear Shanks fans really arguing, like it's very rare. You almost never hear Shanks fans saying, like, oh, Shanks is the strongest all time, stronger than Roger, stronger than Whitebeard, stronger than Rocks. Just like, Mihawk fans will just go like, Black Blade, stronger than Roger, stronger than Whitebeard, stronger than Rocks, stronger than anyone except Ryuma and maybe Joy Boy. And that's their fucking top three for a lot of them. And I'm just like, this is fucking insane. That's why Mihawk fans frustrate me a lot. And that's why I think that I just can't take a lot of their arguments that seriously. Anyway, we've talked a lot about Mihawk Shanks again this stream for no real reason. Eric Tolado says, but they think he's a real character. I don't know what that means. None of these are real characters. They're all artificial characters. They're all made up. They're all in a story. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5. Fun fact, Nami's voice actor, Akami Akamura, always uses the "Who's the navigator of this ship" line to introduce herself in One Piece events, Jump Festa, etc. Yeah, that's an iconic Nami moment. That's a great Nami moment. Nami was the MVP of Jai, in my opinion. King G says Shanks fans are the most delusional. I don't think so, though. I think from what I've seen, like, Shanks fans at most will argue that Shanks is the strongest good guy character alive today, which isn't that strange or delusional, right? Like, even if you don't believe that, it's like it's not crazy, you know? It's just like, I think most people have Shanks roughly in their top 5 of, you know, Shanks, Dragon, Mihawk in there somewhere, Akanu in there somewhere, and then Emu wherever you want to place him, right? Like, that's not that weird, like, to have Shanks, whatever, you know? But Mihawk fans are the one, like, to me, this is delusional, where Mihawk fans will basically say, no, he's above Prime Roger, Prime Whitebeard, Prime Rocks, Prime everybody except Joy Boy, and probably tied with Ryuma. Some of them say he's above Ryuma, which is just, like, basically saying he's stronger than Endgame Zoro, which is fucking contradictory to his own story. Like, that's literally where they have him because of the Black Blade. To me, that's delusional. I really don't think I don't think I see Shanks fans en masse have takes like Shanks above Roger, Shanks above Prime Whitebeard, stuff like that. Anyway. All right. All right. Ren0813 says Shanks fans run around saying he's stronger than Roger and equal to Joy Boy Haki. But it's literally... Joy Boy's Haki is literally compared in the manga to Shanks. That's a terrible comparison to make. That's in the story. That's not like... What? That's in the story. That's not... What are you talking about? That's... Oda already writes... He already wrote that into the story. He already implied that in the story that it's comparable. That's not a weird thing to bring up. I don't know what to say. OG3 says more to the delusional Shanks fans say just as crazy shit. Lol. Oh, no, there's going to be characters from every fan base that say that, right? Like, I know that there are some characters that, or some people, YouTubers even that I know that say that they think Shanks is above Roger. I'm just saying proportionally, I think there's far fewer Shanks fans that I've seen generally. Like with Mihawk, it is a common topic that I see Mihawk being above Roger because of the Black Blade. Like a lot of Mihawk fans claim that he is the strong. Like that is a very, very common thing. It's like, no, he's not just better than Shanks. He's the strongest pirate of all time. To me, that's kind of crazy. Whereas with Shanks fans, yeah, you can find some, but generally speaking, I don't think I see Shanks fans putting him above Roger Whitebeard. You can probably find one or two here or there, but that's generally not the discussion. They might say he's like close to the strongest right now. Like the upper end Shanks fans, you might say is like maybe Shanks is the strongest alive, even above Emu, or like second or something like that. But they're not putting him all time top 3 or something, you know, or all time top 1, you know. I am work says Shanks is equal to Roger. Like, yeah, so for example, to me, that's like a relatively extreme Shanks fan take, like saying Shanks is equal to Roger, right? I don't think that's the case, but hardcore Shanks fans will believe something like that, right? Mihawk is just another level where it's just like, no, Roger doesn't have a black blade, so Mihawk's above him. It's like, that's a crazy, crazy reductive way of thinking, and that's why I dislike the extremists of that fan base, because it just feels like you can't actually, there's no willingness to actually like put thought into, like there's no willingness to actually engage. It's just they want to put everything into like a very, very black and white view where it's just like, no, we're going to take one simple fact and use it to say Mihawk's above everything else. Just like, what? Okay. Anyway, like, and it's something we don't even fucking know about, which is black blades. People say I'm crazy when I'm like, yeah, we don't know the full extent of Conqueror's Haki, but we have clear indication that Conqueror's Haki has like levels to it based off the Joy Boy knot, based off Kaido's statements, etc. Like we're still learning about that, right? So there's clearly more to Conqueror's Haki. We still don't understand Ashura, etc. But then Mihawk fans will say Black Blade, even though we know jack shit about Black Blades whatsoever. It's like Black Blade means he's above Roger. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, why? What? What the fuck? All right. Anyway, continue on. Let's actually do the. You guys want to do the list? Let's do the list. Let's do the list. Enough lollygagging. You know, let's do our top 30 all time. It's time. Yeah, at least with Conqueror's Haki, we know some stuff. Like, there's more levels to it. We know that the highest level of Conqueror's Haki is the strongest power in the world. It can overwhelm 5 Gorosei, stuff like that. Like, we're still learning what it can do. We're still learning that Roger had some level of it that Luffy and Kaido and them haven't reached yet. We're still learning about it, but it's clear the story's telling us that there's more to it. And so it's like, okay, so let's see where this goes. But it's like an open path where you're like engaging with the story and trying to see, okay, this could mean this could mean that, right? Like maybe Shanks can, maybe this implies this or that about the character, right? Or Shanks or Roger, etc. Whereas Mihawk fans, it's like, Black Blade, what do we know what it does? No, it just means Mihawk's the strongest. Guys, we did it! Mihawk's the strongest! We know because of the Black Blade! It's like, is there an explanation of Black Blades? Or what it indicates? Like, no, it's this! It's right there in the story! Mihawk is the strongest pirate of all time. He's top 2, tied with Joy Boy. Top 3, at best or at worst, tied with Ryuma. It's it. The story. The narrative tells it. I'm just like, this is fucking insane. This is just, who are these people? What is this? That's what frustrates me. It's just, there's a notable difference in the discourse. And I could feel that difference because before I was part of the community, which was pre-Marineford, I was more Mihawk than Shanks. Marineford kind of shook some of my faith in the Mihawk stuff. And then once I started actually engaging in One Piece stuff online and having a channel and stuff, I was like, okay, so anything to do with Mihawk and Zoro, it's just you can't take a lot of the arguments seriously. All right, everybody. All right. Make sure that this can't be shared. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right, so the last time I did this, I put reasons. I had a reasons column. I don't know if I feel like doing a reasons column. Macro says, end of story, Zoro will be stronger than Ryuma. Mihawk being on Ryuma level is not a crazy take. Listen, man. I just don't believe that Ryuma ever needed an inhaler. I don't believe Ryuma ever needed an inhaler. I cannot imagine Ryuma going huff with Luchi. I just don't know what to say. If Zoro goes from huff with Luchi to above the god of the blade in the next, 200 chapters, I cannot even imagine what could possibly have happened. Some sort of, 15-year training arc or something like that? I don't know. I think Zoro being... I used to think that Luffy would definitely be stronger than Joy Boy by the end, but... it's kind of changed. I think that Luffy will be equal to Joy Boy by the end because it used to feel like, okay, the thing that Joy Boy failed in some way, right? We kind of understand that. But now it's kind of become clear that Joy Boy didn't fail because he wasn't strong enough. I think the Joy Boy Haki moment pretty much confirmed that. Just the simple fact that Imu just absolutely shat himself the moment he felt Joy Boy's Haki, it pretty much tells us, more likely than not, Joy Boy was just that dude, right? So Luffy reaching the level of Joy Boy at this point, there's not really a narrative reason for him to be, it would be one thing if the story was that, Joy Boy, he just couldn't beat Imu, and so Luffy comes along, surpasses them both, beats Imu, right? It no longer seems like that was Joy Boy's failing. It seems more almost like a Demon Slayer situation where the first Sun sword user or whatever. Well, I shouldn't say anything. That seems like unfair spoilers. But it doesn't feel like that was the failing of Joy Boy, right? From what I've read into Joy Boy's story, it seems more so that where Luffy might have Joy Boy is going to come down to the one up is that Luffy might have built a better crew of subordinates that he can rely on in a way that Joy Boy didn't, right? Joy Boy always had to come save his crew. I think that that's more so the story that's being built around Luffy and where he really, will be able to succeed where Joy Boy couldn't. It just doesn't seem like Joy Boy he was too weak to succeed. It doesn't seem like he individually is that. I don't think that's what the story's implying. So Luffy reaching Joy Boy's level, to me, that seems like Luffy being tied with Joy Boy at the end, that seems where it's headed to me. Because it's if Joy Boy just makes Imu shit himself at the mere feel of his Haki, right? Then, what level is Luffy supposed to get to? The point where, Imu just shits himself at, seeing a photo of Luffy? You can't really... How much further up you're going to scale the gap between Luffy and, Imu, you know? There is the argument that Blackbeard could be the final villain, and Blackbeard could pose a threat that Joy Boy never had to face in his day. So that's an interesting possibility. But, again, I just don't think that the narrative suggests that Joy Boy's reason for failure back then was his own individual weakness, but rather lacking the proper support. And that ties into Luffy's own story because so much of Luffy's story has been building a crew that can support him and get him through any type of conflict, right? That was a lot of the Marineford saga, etc. So with that in mind, I personally feel like Zoro reaching Ryuma's level at the end of the story is, I think that's kind of Zoro's ceiling. I don't really imagine Zoro surpassing Ryuma or there being a need to surpass Ryuma. It's hard to even imagine that considering Ryuma is a love child of Luffy's character and Zoro's character, right? He was literally Oda's baby protagonist before he wrote Luffy. It's just Oda wrote him to be so strong that during Monsters, Ryuma was already the king of swordsmen, right? So he'd already essentially achieved what Mihawk is, being known as the king of swordsmen. And then it went a step further over the course of his life to become known as the god of swordsmen. I don't know anybody calling Mihawk the god of swordsmen. I just don't imagine. To me, like, if you want to, like, genuinely, unironically, Ryuma versus that fucking Mihawk 1.0 in Monsters. I imagine Ryuma versus Mihawk. Like, I'm not saying Ryuma would fuck up Mihawk like that, but I'm just like, dude, like, that was clearly Oda's early concept of what Mihawk is, you know? Anyway, continuing on. Ken says that is not Zoro's ceiling, LMAO. I'm just so confused. Zoro's ceiling being the god of swordsmen? What's about, like, that's already the most insane ceiling that could exist. The god of swordsmen. The god of the blade. That's above being king of swordsmen or whatever the fuck. It's like literally there's nothing else. There's nothing else. The non-believer of swordsmen, that's the only thing that could top it. What could possibly be the ceiling above Ryuma for Zoro as a swordsman? Like, Ryuma was so strong that individually he he scared off the world government from Wano forever. Individually. The whole world government. Mihawk's not doing that. Like, you know what happened when Mihawk had his Shichibukai status revoked? They fucking came for his ass. They sent Buster Calls and shit. He's not, like... Ryuma existed as literally, like... Ryuma is likely above... Because there's no other character I can think of individually that could do something like that, right? I think Ryuma might be above Roger. I think Ryuma might be above Prime Whitebeard, all of those characters. Because there's no other character in One Piece that we've ever learned of that could individually scare off the entire planet, you know? And it's not like they didn't have good reason to try and go there, because it was established that Wano was a land of gold, that naturally every country, including the Celestial Dragons, you know, they fucking love their gold, right? They're not going to leave a land of gold alone. So Ryuma's feat is arguably up there for, like, the highest period, right? Like, it's just, you can't compare Mihawk to Ryuma because the feats are just not there. Maroquette says Roger's that strong too. I don't know. Ryuma carried Samurai PR. Yeah, because God knows the Samurai fucking suck. Until Odin came along, it was fucking Shimotsuki, or not, or Kozuki, what's his name? Hitetsu, whoever he was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because they fucking suck. Ashura Doji's not scaring off jack shit. Okay. Dat Boy says, Morj, you only think Zoro shouldn't be equal to Luchi because you're somehow convinced Luchi should be weak. No! If you guys fucking go back... this is such BS. Alright, this is such BS. If you guys fucking go back 2 years to the top 30 I did a top 30 where it was after Luchi had fought Gear 5 Luffy. I did a top 30, and I was putting Luchi fucking high. I put him above Katakuri, and people were fucking flipping their shit. They were like, Luchi, not that strong. He got fucked up by Gear 5th Luffy, ha 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 ha. And I was pointing out, no, that doesn't mean Luchi's weak. Gear 5th Luffy is literally a Yonko. It's a fucking Yonko. The fact that Luchi lasted 2 chapters, even if Luffy was, like, messing around, that's still a really big deal. Like, you know how far, like, how many levels higher Luffy is right now than when he fought Katakuri? I don't think Katakuri would last as long as Luchi did. I gassed up Luchi quite a bit after the Gear 5th Luffy fight happened because everybody was just like, it's just so fucking funny how agenda works. Because it was like, after that fight happened, I was like, okay, so this doesn't mean Luchi's weak. It means he's probably around first mate level. It's just that Luffy's that far ahead at this point, right? Because if you're like Doflamingo level or something like that, it's just not even, it's a wash. Like, it doesn't even happen, right? So Luchi has to be fairly strong, probably around first mate level is where we could kind of roughly guess that puts him, right? That fight. First mate, verging on first mate level, right? Or at least would give them a run for their money. People thought that was ridiculous. That was, like, genuinely, Luchi was a laughingstock after that Gear 5th fight, which was stupid because, again, he's fighting a Yonko. He's fighting a fucking Yonko, right? In Luffy's final form, he's fighting him, right? They even fucking have a Haki clash, although Luffy obviously wasn't going all out, right? People made fun of that. They were clowning on Luchi. Then we get to Zoro versus Luchi. And, oh, look at that. Zoro doesn't one-shot Luchi like people thought. Like, a lot of people genuinely were saying Zoro will just immediately wipe the floor with Luchi, low diff him, right? That's what they were saying before that matchup happened. Then the matchup actually happened, and it was at least a medium diff fight for Zoro. It took a decent period of time. A lot of story happened in that period of time. And so, all of a sudden, the narrative has to change, which is like, no. This means that Luchi is actually a lot stronger than we thought. He's, like, way stronger. Like, we never said Luchi was weak. He was a lot stronger, whatever. No. It's so I mean, yes, it's true he was a lot stronger than you all thought, but it's just funny that, like, the narrative changes as soon as you need to defend a certain character. Because after the Gear 5th fight, Zoro fans unanimously were saying Zoro versus Luchi would be a one-shot. Like, Zoro would low diff Luchi. That's what Zoro fans were saying. People were saying that heading into the fight. Before the fight happened, Zoro fans were saying, oh, if Luchi gets freed from his handcuffs, Zoro would just put him down easy. Then the fight actually happens. Zoro's fighting Luchi, and people at the start of the fight were saying Zoro's going to low diff him. Then Zoro doesn't low diff him. He doesn't low diff him, it's a mid diff, and so all of a sudden the narrative changes, and all these Zoro fans are claiming that, no, Luchi was a lot stronger all along, then, like, he's actually really, really tough. It's like, it's totally respectable how the fight went. It's like, no, you motherfuckers clowned him after the Gear 5th Luffy fight. You clowned Luchi. You said he was ass. You said he was trash. And you all were saying that Zoro would probably do the same thing to Luchi that Luffy did. You said that Zoro would low diff him. It didn't happen, and therefore you're now pretending that you always had a different opinion of Luchi. That's not the case. I read with open eyes. I saw Luchi for what he was the moment he fought Gear 5th Luffy. A strong character, a very, very strong character, arguably close to first mate, like at least verging on that tier, or whatever, just pitted against a fucking Yonko who wanted to toy with him. He did admirably, considering he was up against a Yonko. Luke Fernando, thanks for the 2. Kiritsugi's backstory shows why he is who he is. Yes, but it did not make me feel anything. It did not make me feel anything, and I don't think it painted out such an interesting character at the end of the day that it felt too it felt like it deserved 45 minutes of our time, you know? All right. Let's get into it. Time for a top 30. All right. Here we go. I'm going to give some reasoning. From Haki alone, defeated 4 top tiers simultaneously, easily biggest feat in One Piece, nothing else even close, right? Emu, God of the World, final villain, maybe a fraud. However, he does seem to, he is boss of Gorosei. Generally, bosses in One Piece are greater than their primary subordinates all combined. Emu likely greater than 5 Gorosei together. I think Emu's like, it's just normal in One Piece. He also seems to fuel them with power. Fuels their power. Generally in One Piece, the boss, like, right? I think that's generally the trend. Doflamingo would solo his seats. Kaido would solo the calamities. Big Mom, it was established factually that Big Mom would defeat her entire crew altogether. NL obviously would defeat the priests. Crocodile would fucking humiliate Baroque Works. Arlong and his crew, it's not even close. So generally speaking, Emu especially, considering he seems to be like the source of the Gorosei's powers a lot. I'll say small chance he's a fraud. Small chance he's a fraud. Small chance. There's a small chance, small chance, but I doubt it. He's likely very strong. Ryuma. Previous Oda protagonist, OG protagonist, God of the Blade, only character to single-handedly scare off entire world, including world government, and did so and scared them away for centuries. Every other character world government aims to capture. I think objectively Ryuma has just a better argument than everybody else right now. I think he had, like, this is just, I think people's protests regarding Ryuma are because he's tied to Zoro, and so it seems like a very Zoro fanboy thing to put Ryuma so high. But you look, I'm just going straight up by what we are told, right? One, the simple fact that he's a previous Oda protagonist puts him, like, just in terms of, like, likely significance to Oda, above Roger. That's just the way it is. Think of Ryuma is basically Luffy and Zoro combined. That's basically the concept for Ryuma. It's Oda. It's literally Oda's previous protagonist. It's like that just gives him greater status at the end of the day than any of the other characters, right? Because it's basically like it's Luffy before Luffy. It's essentially Luffy before Luffy. Joy Boy is also Luffy before Luffy. That's why he's here. The other fact, God of the Blade is an insane title to have. Because it's just above the idea of kings, emperors, etc. I know that obviously, like, it doesn't fit into the Yonko pirate system, etc., but it's just a insane title. Like, God of something. It's a very, very special title. And then he just has the best feat. He has the best feat, which is, he just has the best feat, which is, Wano is a very coveted land for gold. We know that the world government, like Celestial Dragons, they like their gold a lot. We know that the only times a nation can be free from world government control is if the entire nation is that strong, like an Elbaf or something. And Ryuma basically single-handedly scared off the entire world from trying to come to Wano for centuries. That's not really a thing that any other character can speak of. Like, they still fucking tried to capture Roger. They weren't just like, oh, Roger's so strong, we're just never going to go after him. They still tried to capture Whitebeard, right? Like, they still tried to capture these characters. Ryuma's the only one that it's literally like, we really want this land, we really want the gold, we really covet it, but we just have to leave it alone because of one dude. And then that dude left a reputation for centuries. I think, unless you've got people are saying trash or disagreeing or something like that, but just, do you have a counter argument to anything that's stated here? Objectively, only character to single-handedly scare off entire world. Any counter to that? It's also just like, it's really not, you can say it's Zoro bias or whatever, but it's just like, it's literally Oda's previous protagonist. It's his previous protagonist. It's his previous baby. This was the character he would have written a story about if he wasn't writing about Luffy. Like, that's not that weird to say. And again, if you're upset about Zoro bias or whatever, think of Ryuma as more so a Luffy-Zoro hybrid. He's not just a Zoro clone. Growth Stonks, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 1 month. Don't forget about Ryuma. Don't worry, man, I didn't. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. All right. I'm putting Roger next. Oops. Kosh Panda, thanks for the news. Chandra gold safe from world government for 400 years. Kalgara equals Ryuma. But that was because they couldn't find it. I don't know if you're actually joking or not, but that was because they didn't find it and didn't know it existed. Because Nolan went back and told them, hey, there's a city of gold out there. So then they're like, oh, we're going to fucking go fucking steal their gold. And then it got launched into the sky. Yeah. We also don't really have a good gauge of how strong Nolan and Kagura are, so I'm not going to put them on this list. It's hard to say. We just have no way to scale them. Gerard, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 1 month. The Ryuma glaze is crazy. There was no other strong person around during his time. Even Usopp is a Yonko 400 years ago. What? The fuck? What? There was no other strong source for that? What do you mean, no other strong person around for his time? Even reputation. Okay, if you want to say no other strong person around for his time, again, the reputation he left was such that even during like Rox's time or whatever, they still weren't fucking going after Wano. And that was a period of time where there was no strong fucking samurai because like Odin was still in his infancy or whatever, right? Like it's not just for that moment what he did, it's the effect that he did for centuries. So strong characters came and went, like I'm sure God's Knights came and went, Marines, strong Marines, etc. came and went. For centuries, it was just deemed we cannot fuck with Wano because there was a samurai so fucking strong, he was essentially a god. We do not want to go to that land. Like, that is really... that. And then Odin helped add to that reputation with Odin then coming out. But Odin was just like the and showing the world again how strong samurai were. But Odin was like the last 20 years, right? So you've got centuries before that. Again, Rox's era going on, still no one's fucking touching Wano. I don't know what to say. No explanation needed. No, I think I do need to explain why I have him above Rox. I guess I have to put Whitebeard here. Whitebeard was his only equal, is what we were told. And I have him slightly above Whitebeard because Garp said Roger's full strength came out when his crew was threatened, became a demon, which wouldn't have happened against Whitebeard. So I feel like Roger's full strength probably only came out against Rox. Hyped as only person to equal Roger. Oh, I missed a super? Thank you. Oh, Kelvin, thanks a lot. Do you think previous Conquerors users like Dofi, Katakuri, Boa, and Kid will learn advanced Conquerors to make themselves relevant in the final saga? I think Dofi, no. I think Katakuri, the tricky thing with Advanced Conquerors Haki is that it's a huge, huge, huge leap. Right? It really, really buffs your stats. It's kind of a crazy buff. It's what takes you from being just another strong first mate-ish type character or top Yonko commander type character to literally Yonko splitting the sky level. Right? Again, not every Advanced Conquerors Haki user can split the sky. As far as we know, Yamato and Zoro are not there yet. But it gets you in that range. And we know that Advanced Conquerors Haki grows pretty quickly, like the more you get it down. So, for example, Luffy didn't split the sky with Kaido initially when he learned Advanced Conquerors Haki, but then in his next round against him, after he got back up from being kicked into the ocean, he then came back and split the sky. So it doesn't take... Like, once you've got that potential going, it's just going to ramp. So it's kind of like, is Katakuri... How significant is Katakuri going to be? I think Doflamingo, no. I think Katakuri, no. I feel like Boa Hancock, no. I don't think Boa Hancock's being written like a character that's still supposed to be growing. I think that Kid, if Kid is going to return to the story, I think Advanced Conquerors Haki is in the works for him. Because he's just too weak and pointless with the ability set that he has now. He's tapped out his Devil Fruit. He's already got Awakening and everything. So it would have to be Advanced Conquerors Haki if he's still going to be relevant. All right. Akash Panda, thanks for 2. Oh, no, we covered this. Gerard, thanks for Yonko Chairman for 1 month. The Ryuma Glaze is crazy. Oh, no, we covered that. Okay. Growth Stonks, thanks to 5. In chapter 1052, they draw a direct comparison with Ryuma, the god of the blade, to Joy Boy, further highlighting that they're similar to Shanks and Joy Boy. Further highlighting that they're similar to Shanks and Joy Boy. Yeah, even the narrative plays up like, oh, is Ryuma like Joy Boy? Is he as great of a hero as Ryuma? Stuff like that. I don't know how much to read into that because that is in the context of the Wano arc, and he's like the Wano people's hero. And also, it's like Luffy's version of Joy Boy, which is definitely not close to Ryuma, or even Roger or anything. I don't know, but that is a good point. Isaiah Davis thinks so too. Is Ryuma reputation due to Haki or swordsmanship? It's all tied together. It's all tied together. He's probably the best character ever at using Haki via swordsmanship. I don't think he did stuff like Joy Boy's just general Haki not release or whatever. I think everything that he did was funneled through his sword. And I think that's a discussion that we'll be revisiting over and over in this list. All right, Whitebeard, hyped as only strong person to equal Roger. I think Rocks probably falls here. I feel like Rocks. I almost feel like these three are No, I feel like Roger is supposed to be a little bit above Whitebeard, just because again, the way it was always hyped is that Whitebeard was the only character who managed to equal Roger. And I feel like with Rocks, he's the only character who managed to equal Roger. And I feel like the hype was always more so, like Roger was the metric that Whitebeard was being measured to. And I feel like the bigger thing was just that it's established that Roger is at his best, like his strongest, he becomes a demon when his crew's lives are in danger. That just would never have happened against Whitebeard, you know? It would just never have happened against Whitebeard, so we just wouldn't have seen that. I also think that Roger's strength is more so Conqueror's Haki based, so like than Whitebeard, because just straight up Whitebeard has the Guru Guru plus Conqueror's Haki. So Whitebeard with Guru Guru plus Conqueror's Haki is equal to Roger with just Conqueror's Haki. But because Haki is the thing that's literally your spirit, whatever boost Roger gets when he's in like a demonic rage protecting his crew, I think it would be like very substantial. Like it's likely tied directly to his Haki. I know a lot of speculation there, but we have to speculate, right? We got Rocks. We got hype is only person. Okay, hold on. Rocks, Roger's greatest foe or whatever. I could see him being above Whitebeard even, since I imagine Roger was most serious when fighting Rocks. Garp references a demonic Roger when protecting his crew's lives. I think that it's possible that that Rocks could be even above Whitebeard. Here's where it gets tricky. I'm just going to list out some characters that I think are going in the next batch. Garp, Shanks, Dragon, Mihawk. And I think I got a little gap. Sengoku. Does Sengoku go in this group? Sengoku. I'm just doing it in batches here. Kaido, Big Mom. Ah, shit. I could see current Akanu being above. Current Akanu? If he has Conquerors? Garling with that Gorosei buff. Thanks. All right. This is kind of how I see the next little groups shaking out. I don't think Akainu's on young. I think if I were to say old Akainu, like pre-time skip Akainu, okay, current Akainu, if he has developed Conquerors. So that's my reasoning, right? This is where I put Akainu if no Conquerors, like pre-time skip. I think he just falls here. Because if we're being honest, if Akainu doesn't have Conquerors, he's like not even the best magma user. He doesn't even have the best magma attacks. Kaido technically does, with the island level dragon thing, you know? His island level dragon form. Because that's like a giant magma dragon plus advanced Conqueror's Haki, which is kind of insane. So it's basically dependent on like what's Akainu's role in the story. If Akainu has developed Conquerors or is set to be a Conqueror's Haki user by the end of the story, then I think his role as Fleet Admiral, one of the final endgame roadblocks for Luffy or whatever, would put him here. You know, I think he would maybe even be stronger than Sengoku. But if Akainu is maybe supposed to lose to someone like Sabo, then he has to kind of stay in that Admiral-ish level, just the tippy top of like, you know, like a little. He's essentially equal to like basically either you think Akainu is equal to Aokiji, and therefore like basically like at best equal to old Garp, or you think that Akainu has gotten Conqueror's Haki, advanced Conqueror's Haki, and therefore he's like one of the greatest of all time, you know? Growth Strong says 5 billion bounty. Yeah, but bounty doesn't have anything to do with strength. Because what's like Aokiji's bounty? Probably like 3 billion or something like that, and he's equal to Akainu. Oh, fucking Odin. Odin is tricky. He's a tricky one to put. Because we just know he's stronger than Kaido is what we saw, but that was Kaido, old school Kaido. Even these tiers, this is just me getting out names. Don't look too much into them. Oh, fucking our boy Luffy. I gotta throw some Gorosei in here soon too. Gorosei, Admirals, Loki. Fucking Blackbeard. Duh. These tiers are... I'm putting down names. Alright? Don't read too much into this shit. Okay. Let's go. Some characters that I have here might be somewhere else. Okay? I got Odin. Don't worry. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Let's get stream likes up to 200. Okay. Do I have to fucking rank, like, Captain John and shit? I don't know where the fuck they would go. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to fucking rank Captain John and, like, Silver Axe. Fucking Moria zombies I'm gonna have to rank. Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it rolling. Alright? This is difficult. I think the people will be very upset with what I'm about to do next. I think the people will be downright furious. But it has to be done. I know he has lost all of his aura. I know that he has functionally been a compass, and his primary role is to be a compass for the past God knows how long. 500 chapters. I know that I know everything you got to say. I know everything you all have to say. I already know because I think it too. I think it in my heart. I think it everywhere. I think it in my brain, my heart, my soul. I get it. But I can't lie to myself, which is that like I legitimately feel from everything from like the character being explained to us alongside the Yonko, it always has to the character being introduced to us at chapter 100. It seems like from the beginning, Oda has been setting up this dude to be something even greater than the Yonko, even greater than a Whitebeard, even greater than a Shanks in some regard. It is the protagonist's father. Oda has done everything in his power to de-hype this man post-time skip. Everything in his power. But there's one thing Oda continues to do. There's one thing Oda continues to do with this man. I feel like the longer that Oda holds off a character, a really built-up character, right? The simple fact that this is the dude that, like, at the end of the story in the final saga, we are this far into the story, and this is the one character that Oda still does not want to show us fight at all. And just the role that he has, which is overthrowing, like, he's the character that is essentially supposed to, like, in the mode of overthrowing the world, like, changing the entire planet, right? And it's just being saved and saved up to this point. I feel like Oda might be saving up Dragon even more than a Shanks, even more than, like, any other figure, to be the most pivotal character in the final saga outside of Luffy. I think that that's possible. Abdullah says Saul top 1. I mean, Saul's immortal. That's possible. I know zero feats. The point is, it sounds... I get it. You guys can trash this pick, because I could easily see him being 5 spots lower. I could see it. The irony is that the argument actually hinges on the fact that this is the one dude that Oda does not want to give us anything. No feats. I think the argument is actually largely built on the no feats, which might be stupid, but I think Oda is saving him. I think we've seen every other... Like, he's the character that was introduced the earliest that we have yet to see fight the longest. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5. I hope Rock's greater than Roger because I want Luffy to surpass Roger and Garp when he beats Blackbeard. Second coming of Rocks, clashing with Quakes, just Haki. I think Rocks versus... I think that's a really interesting idea. That feels more dramatic to me as well. I think if Blackbeard was built up as even stronger than Rocks, then that could go a long way. Like, if it's implied that even Roger wouldn't be able to stop Blackbeard or something. I think that could make sense. I'm just going with what I think is the case. Right? We have so little information at the end of the day for a lot of these characters, so we're speculating. While I would enjoy it, the scenario you're presenting, that's not necessarily what I think is likely. I'm missing Super. I got yours. Who am I missing? Oh, JP says, here we go. Thanks for the 10. Given Green Bull said they wouldn't have touched Wano if Kaido was still there and was scared by Shanks, we know it takes a Yonko caliber character to keep them away. That's about where I put Ryuma. The difference is that Kaido had an empire. Kaido had, we know that a Yonko is an emperor that holds a territory, right? And while the Yonko themselves is ultimately the most important piece of it, right? Like, the Yonko is the most important piece of it, right? That's the max value. No character by themselves is treated like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, if we were to say, like, even if you don't think Kaido, if you think Kaido's above Mihawk or whatever, that's totally understandable. But even someone like Mihawk, as soon as Mihawk had Shichibukai status revoked, they were all like, it's go time. They're going after Mihawk. Like, they did not hesitate. They're like, we're going to try and capture you. That's natural. The difference is, and the same reason that Mihawk, Crocodile, all these characters created Cross Guild, is now you have a force that you cannot be fucked with by the world government unless they're willing to commit, like, a shit ton of resources a la Marineford, right? So the difference is that Kaido had an empire. The simple counterpoint I would say to that is basically we can straight up look, right? You could say that Green Bull wouldn't have gone to Wano, right? You could say that if we really want to get technical right that, you could say Green Bull wouldn't have gone to Wano. But we've got some... here we go. Green Bull wouldn't have gone to Wano. But straight up, what sort of force would we need to stop them? Admirals, warlords of the sea? Like, this is Big Mama's on the move. She's going to make contact with Kaido, right? Kizaru wanted the smoke. He was like, I'll go there and try and break shit up, you know? I don't think Kizaru would have been successful. I'm not saying that. But just because Green Bull, who is the weakest admiral that we've seen so far, is saying that I wouldn't have touched this place if not for Kaido, does not mean that that's the same sentiment that is shared by other Marines. In fact, the stronger characters, Akanu, Kizaru, specifically say the samurai, the reputation left behind by Ryuma, as was established, the samurai of Wano are what maintain that true aura of intimidation, even for characters like this. It's not like Kaido and Big Mom that Akanu's referencing here as the real problem. He's saying the samurai are why we don't want to fuck with them. He reiterates the same thing in chapter 957, right? Like, you can play that game of what Green Bull said, but at the same time, we ultimately know that Kaido has an empire underneath him, right? Ryuma was one dude. It was one dude, and it was established that this one dude's reputation was enough that the entire world did not fuck with it. There was no character in modern-day One Piece ever that has been suggested that solo, the world government would not try and take them down. Never. Not Roger, not Whitebeard. It's established in Oden's backstory that the Marines still try and capture Whitebeard every time Whitebeard ships come up, like they come across Whitebeard's ships, and Whitebeard's ships, they always try and, you know, avoid conflict if possible, right? There's never been a character like Ryuma. Not in One Piece history, right? Green Bull saying that about Kaido is taking into account that Kaido is ultimately the emperor that rules this empire, right? And he is ultimately the biggest military force. But if it's just Kaido, yeah, they are going to try and capture Kaido. You want to know why? Because fucking Kaido's introduction explains how many fucking times he was captured, right? Like, it's not, it's, it's not like Kaido by himself would be treated as this off-limits thing. It's he's a Yonko. He's got an empire behind him. Simple example, see Mihawk pre-Cross Guild, Mihawk post-Cross Guild. They don't try and go after Cross Guild, but they would try and go after Mihawk, right? See the Roger pirates, Marines always trying to capture Roger pirates, Whitebeard pirates are always trying to capture him. It's once you've set up like a huge empire and everything like that, then something like Wano becomes like unassailable. But even Akainu is saying, like, at the end of the day, what I'm really scared about over there is the reputation of the samurai, the reputation that was established by Ryuma way back when as a solo individual. That's the big part that needs to be established. Only character to single-handedly scare off entire, if that makes sense. Sorry if I missed that super earlier. Almighty Lambo, thanks for the 5. W pick, dragon name at Marineford carried the same weight as Roger, only basing your points off feats in the series like One Piece is pointless. Yeah, because it's just like Oda deliberately doesn't have strong characters fight. And to me, it's almost just like the fact that he has gone featless for so long almost makes me feel like this is the dude that Oda's saving. Is the one top-tier character introduced the earliest with the role of MC's father, introduced the earliest who has consistently had the most hype behind their name, post EL and Marineford scenes. who Oda has been holding off who Oda has been saving the longest in terms of showing what he can do, and he has the largest role set up in Final Saga outside Luffy, and is protagonist's father. Maybe objectively is the wrong word, and seemingly largest final conflict role set up in the finals. I really don't know about Dragon. Like he could be 5 spots down. I don't know. It's just hard to ignore. It's just hard to ignore the fact that like Oda is really, really like, there are characters like Oda really hides, like he likes to hide. Okay, what can Shanks, like that's why we debate a lot. Like what can Shanks do? Like how does Shanks actually fight? Like is it just with a sword? What's his, like the one time he actually fought, he one-shotted Kid, right? We have these characters that we wanted to see for a long time. We want to see how Whitebeard fought for a long time, right? We want to see how Garp fought for a long time, right? We've gotten all of those things. Dragon was introduced in chapter 100. The point, like literally the chapter that's called like the legend begins. The legend began with Dragon. He is the top tier that was introduced the earliest alongside Shanks and Mihawk. That has gone by far the longest, like 1,000 chapters, with Oda not even showing a glimpse. Like everyone else, we've had glimpses. Like Shanks, we've seen very limited because it's like, oh, we'll have to see him fight Kid, but it was like a one shot. But we still got that, and we see him pull out a sword at different points, right? We've seen Mihawk like flex his muscles against different characters, right? Whether that be East Blue or even Marineford. We've even gotten to see Garp do a full on raid. Whitebeard, he got all of Marineford to showcase. Like we've seen pretty much everybody, but Dragon is just so far back that Oda showed him, and then it's so long since then that he's just been like this is the Dragon feels like, I'll just say this, Dragon feels like the last hype card that Oda has been holding closest to his chest for by far the longest amount of time. I just think that there's a reason for that. There's no real reason to be hiding Dragon doing stuff this late in the game unless it's meant to be that impactful and that exciting. This is Luffy, this is Luffy. I mean, you got ultimately like Haki is a lot of willpower, right? Dragon's ambition is literally the world, right? Overthrow the world, and he's been fighting to do it since God knows how long. I think that is likely set up to be an extremely powerful character. I would never bet the farm on Dragon. It's just if I'm making this ranking based heavily on speculation right now, I just feel like Dragon is more likely than Shanks, more likely than Mihawk at this point in time to be the strongest good guy figure still. I don't know. Declan Murphy, thanks for the 2. Shanks scares everyone off single-handedly too. Yeah, he's got a lot of. That's part of the reason I think Shanks is hyped up so much in the story. Like he has consistently, anytime he's shown up, he has successfully intimidated whatever opponent may be that the Blackbeard Pirates, be that the Marine Forces, World Government, or whatever, be that Green Bull, except for Kid, because Kid's just stupid, right? So that's definitely true. But the difference is just that like Ryuma was one dude who did it to the entire world for centuries after he was dead. That was like the level of, like, it's just a different level. I don't know if it's possible that Shanks would have that same sort of effect. Like, it's entirely possible. I'm just going by what we know of Ryuma, right? So I'm just saying that, like, if Shanks was on some island, like Fuchsia Village or something like that, and, like, the world government tried to come there to take the gold of Fuchsia Village or something, and whatever Shanks did was so legendary that the entire world government, meaning Celestial Dragons, Marines, God's Knights, etc., they were just like, okay, we're just never, ever, 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 ever sending any force of any kind ever to that place ever again, because that is just suicide. And we're going to make this a law for the next 5 centuries. That's it. No Marine. Doesn't matter who's in charge. Akanu's in charge. Sengoku's in charge. Doesn't matter who the God's Knights are. If Garling becomes Gorosei, Warcry's Gorosei, it doesn't matter who. Imu says, no, we're not going there. No one's going there. Because Shanks one time fucked up everybody that bad single-handedly across the world, from around the world, that it's just no territory for 500 years. That's a different level, you know? JP, thanks for the 10. If they say the samurai is what they're afraid of, doesn't that imply they're afraid of Wano having more strong characters like Ryuma? So they're afraid of a potential force overall. Because they got the reputation of how strong samurai can be from Ryuma, right? Because this is all going off of Yukimaru's statement, and Yukimaru hyped it up as basically being like, Ryuma was the one who set the reputation of how strong samurai could be, right? So once that reputation was set, they were just aware that, like, how strong the samurai could be strong enough to really fuck us up, right? That was what was said. So it is ultimately still based off of one dude's reputation that gave this entire nation the reputation that, like, a samurai can be that strong, right? I just don't think that there's anything really comparable in the story. Where to, man? Thanks for the 10. One Piece is my favorite series to power scale because characters have few feats and we use vibes to gauge their strength. I agree. Agenda-based power scaling is super fun. For calculation-based power scaling sucks. I also agree with that. It is a lot of fun. It's just vibes. The thing is, the further we get in the story, we start to get more examples of things. But I think that people have been so set on who should be stronger than who based on vibes for so long that sometimes we can even straight up get fights that are very, very clear as to who is stronger at the end. And then people will still be like, but maybe this character was secretly doing this or that or something like that. Like, you know, like Garp fucks up Aokiji plus half a Yonko crew that are trying to fuck him up in a team fight. And it's made very clear that Garp fucking ran through them. And they all, like, it's just like, some people will still say, nah, but I think Aokiji was still stronger than him somehow. It's like, oh, wait, based on what? Was these some hidden pages that only you have access to? That's how deep the agendas go in One Piece, you know? Scumfuck, thanks for the 5. Hey, Morj, I have a theory for Elbaf. Nice name, by the way. Thanks for your first super ever. I believe we're getting a God Valley flashback showing Shanks/Evil Shanks' origin and Roger finding Shanks. I think that would be phenomenal to get in Elbaf. I thought we wouldn't get God Valley till next time we cut to the Blackbeard Pirates, but maybe that'll happen soon. All right. The thing is, we care about the fights and the power scaling so much, and then Oda's just this dude that's like, I barely know how Haki works. I don't have a real system for it. I don't even have a visual indicator. Okay, after Dragon, I think after Dragon I got Garp. Gave Roger life or death battles frequently. Old Garp still has craziest Haki attacks even in modern day. Single-handedly was fucking up plus half a Yonko crew who had to resort to cheap tricks to injure / handicap him. I think that this... Okay. Here's the okay, I'm going to say this. If I highlight things, then they're interchangeable. Okay? So I think that this group... Fuck. This is difficult. No, this is difficult. Because I could see Shanks being higher. Most hyped Haki character of modern day. Most impressive feats of any modern day character. Current role of Big Good in the story. Luffy's mentor. / bar for greatness. Haki compared directly to Joy Boy's greatest Haki in the story by far. Black Blade greater than Shanks in sword fighting with sword. Clearly would fuck up Kaido based on Zoro and Odin versus Kaido. What else to be said about Mihawk? Zoro's final goal. Second most important character in One Piece. Pretty straightforward. Black Blade greater than Shanks with swords. Zoro is blah, blah, blah. Likely fucks up bums like... Now we're getting too aggressive. I should elaborate a little bit. Only other Black Blade in the story. I'll clarify. Only have Shanks above, because Joy Boy Haki release type attacks don't use sword. Because people are going to complain about that. Goal. Hunted Marines, which is insane. Alright. I think I got Sengoku. Shit. Current Akanu might be higher, though. Current Akanu could be pretty high. I would put current Akanu above Sengoku. I might put current Akanu above Shanks. Nick Dawson, thanks for the 10. Would love to see analysis of how Luffy seems to acquire other first mates. Marco being directed, Katakuri's respect being earned, King literally searching for Joy Boy, an interesting pattern. I never noticed that. That's actually a really, really interesting point. I would say that actually, now that I think about that, I think that makes sense simply because a lot of these first mates, they're first mates to... So it's not the case with, like, lower level first mates, right? Like fucking Virgo or some shit, right? The first mates that Luffy's respect... whose respect Luffy tends to acquire is that of, like, other Yonko. So characters... So these tend to be first mates of like, you know, Big Mom or Whitebeard, who obviously have captains that they perceive as basically like the next closest thing to Pirate King, right? Their captains are right there. So they are in service of like the greatest of the great. So these characters slowly drop like flies. Like Whitebeard dies, Big Mom goes down, right? Like they see Luffy still standing and surging forward in the story towards this bar of hitting where their captains were and surpassing it. So they're naturally going to respect that because their job as first mates was essentially to support this great pillar that represented something so significant in the world. And they were this person's like number two, like their primary guy, right? So they know what that level means, and they're able to respect that Luffy is surging to that level and even surpassing it, right? Like they spent so long holding, like being the pillar of support to somebody like Luffy that they're able to see and respect how like Luffy's greatness as he goes even above that. Shit. Current Akanu is really, really difficult to place. I don't know if current Akanu is supposed to be above Shanks or not. Because old Akanu, I definitely don't think so. Akanu. Okay. Entirely based on belief in his role in the story. If he is Luffy obstacle, entirely needed on him having unlocked Conqueror's Haki. Sengoku had it over time skip. Based on belief of his role as Luffy opponent down the line. If he is still at pre-TS level, then he is way lower down the list. One spot above Aokiji. Based on potential, yeah. So Kainu, either he's pre-time skip level, in which case he's way lower. He'd be like below. He'd essentially be equal to old Garp, is where I would put him, like just about above Aokiji. All right. Sengoku. All right, with Sengoku we have Prime Sengoku was often spoken of alongside Garp, but never reached same level of praise. Likely he praise and doesn't have same feats. God Valley. All we know is close to Garp, God Valley, or God Valley, Roger battles, etc. Close to Garp, but likely a bit below. Jolly D. Joseph texted 2. Has Barago seen this yet? I don't know. I don't know if he's in chat. Sometimes he's in chat. Nick Dawson, thanks for the 10. Would love to see an analysis of how Luffy seems... Oh, no, we covered this. I'm sorry. Where's my head at? All right. Oh, typo. Thanks, Akash Panda. Sengoku. Okay, so we kind of cleared this group. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put something crazy down. I'm going to put something crazy down. I think people are going to be pissed about this one. I think people are going to be really fucking upset with this one. All right? Garling. All right? I am going to be moving Garling up. I just don't know where yet. Let me write out his sentence, and then we will see. Likely dragon opponent. Hold on. Emu. Final villain? Number 2. I'm going to be moving Garling up the list. Emu's number 2. In prime, likely close to Shanks. Gorosei buff, likely seems to cure aging ailments, so currently back in prime, plus immortality / regen, plus new broken devil fruit powers. I think, just reading all this, I think I'm going to be moving Garling up. I like it. The chat will hate it, but I like it. How do I get this to one line? I guess I'll just shorten this. Potential dragon opponent. I just think, yeah, if you have a character who is close to Prime Shanks, and you give them immortality and regen, and you give them a broken mythical zone, I think that might be, I think that might do the trick. I don't know. Jordan Dyer says, bro getting ranked off potential opponent. Yeah, that's what all of this is. That's what all of this is. This is all that. I have Dragon ranked where he's at because Dragon is... We're speculating here. Like, I think that's Dragon's likely role in the story, right? We have Akanu where he's ranked because we're like... I'm saying, like, I think Akanu is likely a Luffy opponent. If Akanu is not a Luffy opponent, if he doesn't have Conqueror Haki, he's way lower down the list. Yeah, we have fucking Rock's ranked where he's ranked because it's like, okay, he potentially took Roger to, like, extreme high dip. Like, you know, there's all potential. All right. How'd you guys feel about that? Are you guys upset? Aryan Pi says, bro, what is Prime Shanks? Shanks in his prime now? Yeah, I'm talking about Garling. So the idea is that Garling is almost as... I don't think Garling in his prime was as strong as Shanks, right? So I'm saying in Garling's prime, he's almost equal. Oh. So almost... I see what you're saying there. So... let's say... So what's a better ways to phrase this? Shanks base level. So almost Shanks level. Yeah, how about that? So almost Shanks level. So if you give a character, so almost Shanks level plus immortality. Yeah, I don't know. It's Emu's number 2. Right? It's Emu's number 2. Garling is essentially equivalent of Emu's king. Or, you know, like this is the equivalent of Emu's Mr. 1. Or like Ohm. Or like Virgo or something like that, right? So, I don't think this is insane. You know? Like, this is the God Valley gang, right? This is the God Valley gang. You got to remember, Garling is known as, like, a hero from God Valley as well, right? This is the God Valley gang, right? So, except for Dragon. Dragon's not in part of the God Valley gang. This is the God Valley gang. I wouldn't be surprised if Garling was the weakest of the God Valley gang, right? But I think he's still comparable to those characters. I think if you then give him immortality, infinite regeneration, and, like, a really powerful mythical Zoan, I think that's enough to nudge him out of the bottom spot of the God Valley gang. And keep in mind, these characters are all very close. I think they can be shuffled around. All right. Let's Ray wash this bum in God Valley. Fucking Rayleigh. That's who's going up next. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, if Rayleigh is equal to no, because Rayleigh wouldn't have washed him because they're on the same fucking side. They fought Garp and Roger fought alongside the Celestial Dragons. Rayleigh didn't wash him. Yeah, what are you talking about? Rayleigh didn't wash him. They wouldn't even have fought, most likely. I wouldn't be surprised if Prime Garling is about Rayleigh level. So then if you give... I think Rayleigh is close enough to Garp that if you give Rayleigh, like, infinite regeneration, immortality, right? And then on top of that, you gave him broken, like, one of the most powerful mythical zone abilities. Then I think that would probably give Rayleigh... I think that would tip the scales. I think Rayleigh could take Garp. Or at least it would be very tight, you know? Yeah, I got Rayleigh. Do I got Rayleigh or do I got Banks? Closest way to have evil Shanks as possible. So likely very close to Shanks in strength and challenge as an opponent. Okay. Choppa says the Garp downplay is insane. Garp is washing Rayleigh. I don't think it's... Garp downplay is insane. I think Garp... Yeah, I have Garp above Rayleigh. I don't think it's a wash, though. It's Rayleigh. It's Rayleigh. What are we talking about here? It's Rayleigh. This is literally the dude that trained the Pirate King. He trained the next Pirate King. This is Rayleigh. Like, this is... Come on, man. Rayleigh's not some bum. This reminds me of that, like... This feels like that Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp moment. That bit where, like, Skip's, like, talking up Tom Brady. He's like, way better than you ever were or whatever. And Shannon's like, I'm a fucking Super Bowl champion. I'm in the motherfucking Hall of Fame. You're talking about me like I'm some sort of bum. Yeah, Garp's above Rayleigh, but it's not like Rayleigh's some bum. Come on. Wade Turner says Garp is on the same level as Roger Morj. I understand, but okay. Here's the thing. This whole group is very, very close together. To me. This whole group is very close together. I mean, ultimately, it's a gradient. So, like, I think that Shanks is probably pretty close. And if Shanks is close, then Mihawk's close. And, like, it's very, very tight. The thing is that Roger is kind of the metric that we got, right? And then we were told that, okay, Whitebeard is the only one who's actually equal to Roger. We were told that Whitebeard is the only one that's actually equal to Roger. It's Roger and Whitebeard. Then we found out about Garp, and it's like, okay, Garp ran Roger very close. So Garp is there. He's in that same tier. I don't know if I would necessarily... It's not established that he's actually equal to Roger and Whitebeard, but he's like right there is the implication that I'm getting. Right? So it's not like the gaps are huge. And then you got Rayleigh, which is Roger's right hand. Has his own crazy reputation. Garp himself is talking about, like, oh, are we going after Rayleigh? It's like, no, we can't go after two legends at once, essentially putting Rayleigh in the same breath as Whitebeard. Not saying Rayleigh's as strong as Whitebeard, but yeah, it's not like Rayleigh's a bum. Rayleigh's just, he's probably a step... Essentially, I'm saying Rayleigh is probably a step below these characters, right? It's a step below these characters. And then if you gave Rayleigh broken mythical Devil Fruit Zone abilities and infinite regeneration, then that probably gets him to that level, is all I'm saying. That's why I have Garling there. UX7 says Garling has done nothing. Yeah, but so have a lot of these. Rox has done nothing. What do you want? Rox is Garling's role is basically Emu's strongest subordinate, right? So, you know, Akash Panda, thanks for 2. Can you elaborate on why you think Dragon greater than Prime Garp? I would not be, like, you guys gotta understand, this stuff is all very close. I don't feel that strongly about any of this stuff. Like, if you told me that the correct order was like Oda comes out and the correct order is something like Dragon's here, and like Garp's here, and like Rox is here, and like Shanks is here, or something like that. If you told me that, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, that's insane, I'm clutching my pearls. Like, this makes no fucking sense to me. How could this happen, right? That's not the case. I'm just going, like, these are the slimmest of margins. If we're being very, very straightforward, it's possible that Oda doesn't actually, like, when it gets this tight, he's not actually thinking, like, okay, well, how would Garling today have matched up against, like, Rox back then or something? Like, I don't think that Oda's thinking every single little thing through to that degree. So, I think he generally understands, he's like, okay, Garp is about that same level as Roger and them, etc. I'm pretty sure this was roughly how I had it out. Like, there's not huge gaps here. You guys gotta understand, there's not huge gaps here. Many of these are interchangeable, okay? So, when you're asking, why do I have Dragon above Garp? I think that basically, Dragon is... I would believe... I feel like with the Monkey D family tree, I think there might be a sort of upward trend at the moment with Dragon being above his own father and then Luffy being above his own father. If I were to go... That's like a soft outside thing that I personally feel might be possible. Oh, you just want my reasons, not a rant. The biggest thing is simply that I feel like right now in the story, Dragon is Oda's biggest I think he's the card that Oda has been keeping close to his chest for the longest. I think for the maximum impact. I think that this is the, like, I think he might be, like, the mystery character that Oda has planned from a very, very, very early point in time to be kind of, like, the dude that is the strongest protagonist in the story outside of his own son, Luffy. I just get that sense the further I go back to... The problem is that post-time skip has really neutered a lot of that. Right? If you go back to pre-time skip, saying that Dragon might be number 1 doesn't feel insane whatsoever, because you just go back and read how he's written in chapter 100. It feels like this almost transcendental figure that, and mysterious transcendental figure that enters the story, that's almost like larger than life, that like just the sheer name Dragon carries more impact than when they're talking about all 4 Yonko combined in post-Enies Lobby. The weight that the name was given over the course of the Marineford arc. Dragon was just built up in a certain way and given a certain aura, and Oda kept him, like, kept the hype train of the character going and just kept him as this sort of mystery card. Post-time skip, we've seen him a lot, and his aura seems kind of gone. It doesn't feel like Oda's writing him in that same sort of really, like, mysterious energy way that he used to. However, the one thing Oda has continuously done with the character is not show him do jack shit in terms of combat. And interestingly, while this might sound counterintuitive, to me that suggests that whatever Oda has planned for this character, it's showstopper type stuff that is only going to happen in the most significant of significant conflicts. And Dragon is likely going to be one of those final characters that is defeated to hype up like an Emu or something like that. And so just for that reason, I think that Dragon is likely set up to be just like this world change, like world breaking level of strength for the good guy's side. When when Oda finally moves that piece onto the board, it's supposed to have a different sort of level of impact than anything that's come before it. That's the sense that I get with the character. It's hard to believe the further and further we see Dragon. I still feel like the simple fact that that's how Dragon has been written. I'm erring on the side of like buying into Oda saving this card for a reason, right? And so while that might not explain why I have him directly above Garp or something, I think it's more so simply that I'm saying that I think Oda plans Dragon to be an outrageously strong character to the point that he could be maybe like just a hit, like the next best thing to Roger in the modern day or something like that, to a point that like it might even be above his own father. Like his threat level might be even above his own father. If it's the same as Garp or even a little below Garp, that's like, you know, it is what it is, right? I just think that when Oda finally pulls out the Dragon card, I think that that's going to be something bigger than anything we've seen from any protagonist alive today, possibly. Yeah, okay, so it's funny that people are saying Oda hasn't had Mihawk fight before. No, that's the problem with what tanked a lot of Mihawk's fight. You guys don't remember it. That's what tanked a lot of Mihawk's hype in the story, which was that we actually did see him fight, and frequently, and in a very unimpressive manner. That was the problem with Mihawk. And if you want to say, okay, well, he hasn't fought seriously, then it's like, okay, well, Shanks hasn't fought seriously. Like, there's a lot of characters who haven't gone all out yet, but we've been seeing bits and pieces of them in action against other strong characters, right? Dragon is the only one Dragon is the only one from that far back, the only top tier that was established towards the beginning of the story that Oda's been saving, right? He's the only one. He's Oda's like ace up his sleeve in terms of like hype character reveals at this point, okay? I think what's so funny about Mihawk fans coming in and saying like, oh, Oda hasn't shown us Mihawk either, it's just like, it's kind of like outing how bad Mihawk's on-screen feats have been, because it's like, no, Oda's shown us Mihawk several times. It's just so embarrassingly bad for a character of his reputation that we essentially have to pretend that they didn't happen and retcon or headcanon them out of our minds and then essentially be like, nah, Mihawk's a blank slate character like Dragon. No, Dragon has not done anything. Oda has not had Dragon throw an attack in the story, right? That's a character not actually doing anything, right? Mihawk had feats on screen that were so bad for his reputation that it took decades for him to recover from, and now we're back putting Mihawk in this sort of conversations. It's very, very different. One character we've seen so much of that we kind of have to pretend it hasn't happened. The other character is the actual blank slate. That's the actual blank slate that nothing. That we've got jack shit, you know? I don't even care about the named moves argument because like Whitebeard never showed a named move. So like that doesn't mean like Whitebeard didn't try at Marineford because he never showed a named move. It's like no, he fought at Marine. He's fought. We've seen him fight. Mark like what the fuck. All right. Anyway, moving on. All right, Kaido. We got to move this along a little bit. Not much to say. Had reputation of world's strongest creature during a time where all other top tiers are either mysterious or completely unknown. Did well against rookies. Canonically shown to be equal to Big Mom. Lost to weaker than Gear 5 Luffy. Despite Gear 5 Luffy having a bigger handicap. Has no good feats against strong characters outside of tying with Big Mom. Lots of L's. Odin, Roger. Odin, Roger. Ran from Shanks. Not a single notable W. Alright. Or draw with anyone significant. Okay. Moving on. Big Mom. Canonically shown to be equal to Kaido. Likely just a hair below him based on her notoriously jobbing to weaker characters and being dumb for no reason. Okay. And Zeus says we don't know if he ran. Alright, then what did he do? Did he fight and then lose? There's only really two options here. I think I got Luffy next. If time limit, Gear 5 Luffy is higher up the list. Time limit holds him back. We have seen in the Kizaru Saturn fight that if he gets serious, he can end fights very quickly. In Gear 5, he was shown to be above Kaido despite being more handicapped than Kaido. This is where it gets tricky. I think Odin has a stronger reputation than Shiki. Tom, thanks for the 2. Joy Boy's Poseidon. Deccan throwing sun is top tier. I don't even know what this means. Joy Boy's Poseidon. Deccan throwing the sun, I don't think will happen. He would have to touch the sun, right? Mohammed Sahel, thanks for the 2. Hello, Morj. How do you do, good sir? Tally ho. Tally ho to you, too. Are you from Britain? Lucky Man, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 15 months. Sorry I didn't see this. Why do you think Luffy will fight Akanu? If they fight in the final war, Luffy won't come out of that unscathed and will definitely lose to Imu, so they'll have to fight before that, but which island? I think that is important for Luffy's narrative. I don't know where it fits in the plot. If anything, we know that Oda likes to remove Luffy from the conflict many times, right? To stall him from fighting the final villain. As you said, Luffy might not come out unscathed if he were to fight Akanu. That could honestly be a perfect way to remove Luffy from the story for some period of time if Luffy has to recover from fighting Akainu before he has to fight Imu or something. I can't imagine Akainu being the final boss of any given arc, but narrative-wise, it's like Luffy's scar, he literally carries the pain of what Akainu did to him every single day. Like, he is literally scarred by Akainu. He's marked by Akainu. We also kind of know that symbolically in One Piece, scars carry certain meaning, right? So Mihawk and Zoro's scar essentially seals their fate that Zoro will one day duel Mihawk again. Shanks and Blackbeard, like, there's a scar left kind of indicating that Shanks and Blackbeard are going to fight again. Like, Oda doesn't do those things haphazardly usually. Luffy and, Luffy's scar is from Akainu, right? Akainu is the one villain outside of Blackbeard that Luffy still has personal hate towards, because when just hearing Akainu's name enrages Luffy and makes Luffy grab his scar. So there's actual personal connection there. Then symbolically, Luffy represents a lot of the opposite ideals of what Akainu represents. Pirates versus Marines are like the core conflict at the start of the, like, they're the core conflict at the true center of the story, right? Like, in reality, it's so much bigger. Like, class systems, celestial dragons, nobility, revolutionaries, all of that. There's like a much deeper layers to it. But Pirates and Marines are kind of the two opposites. It would be kind of odd if Luffy goes the entire story without ever actually having a true Marine battle. And Pirate King versus Fleet Admiral is like symbolically just a very, very powerful matchup that seems to have been set up. But I don't think that's guaranteed. That's the thing. I don't think that's guaranteed. I think that we could go down a route where like Sabo fights Akainu or something like that. And in that case, I think Akainu would be much weaker. Like, he would be basically the same Akainu we saw pre-time skip, Aokiji level. Bane, thanks for the 2. Shanks greater than Dragon, possibly Roger 2. Look, all of that stuff's possible. I'm not saying any of that's not possible. I'm just putting where I think. Seemingly would have defeated Kaido if Kaido wasn't saved, albeit a younger Kaido. Impressed Roger / Whitebeard. High level advanced Conquerors Haki user. Reputation was known even by Marines of today. I believe they talk about, somebody correct me, I believe in 957 they are still talking about Odin, which is pretty impressive considering, like, I don't think like just a first mate or something would be remembered from way back then. I think. I might be wrong. That's actually not true. Like, they still remember lots of random rocks pirates and stuff. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5. Luffy can use Gear 4th in base. He did not turn into Old Man after Gear 5th. He can force himself back into Gear 5th. Did pretty well in base. I agree with all those things, but at the same time, it's kind of just like, it's just, Oda seems to be writing he seems to be pretty loose with how he chooses to write how long Luffy can stay in certain forms, what are the after effects, things like that. I think at the very least, like, this is the highest I can comfortably put Luffy. With, like, I think he's basically, I think the opponents above him are such a difficult fight for him, even in Gear 5th. Like, it would be extreme diff for him, even in Gear 5th, against these characters, that I think even just the fact that he has a time limit, whereas the ones above him don't, is enough for me to say, like, okay, I think he'd still, if he's still having to deal with time limit stuff at all, I think he'd still lose to Kaido, Big Mom, and etc. I don't think he can put down characters like that above him that fast. Bane, thanks for the 2. Narratively, Luffy surpassed Kaido and Big Mom. I agree, but at the same time, like, functionally, I just don't know if, like, Luffy can go the distance with them. I don't think he can knock Kaido out fast enough. Okay, and now we reach this tier. Now we reach this gang. This is difficult. This is difficult. Stretch, thanks for the 5. Rock's strongest adversary Roger ever faced. 1053. 1. Top 3 Ryuma as God of Blade for Wano. Only they called the pig Odin beat a god. Overblown hype. That is actually a that is a phenomenal point. That is a phenomenal point. I always have to acknowledge when people put in like really good points that make me rethink whatever. They did call that pig the god of the mountain. So, yeah, the people of Wado also just suck. I think the other points still stand regarding Ryuma. I think that's a good enough point that I would straight up remove God of the Blade from Ryuma's title right there. My defense would be that I think God of the Blade is something that readers are supposed to take more seriously because it feels like sometimes you can tell like, oh, like when the little characters in the dollhouse are calling Roto the sun god or like the snake god or the year god and stuff, it's like that's not a real god or whatever. But I think when Oda's telling us, like, I think Oda's legitimately trying to hype up this character Ryuma. So when he's establishing he's not just a king of the blade, he's a god of the blade, I think we're supposed to actually take that as legitimate hype. But your point is funny enough and funny enough that and like not worth splitting hairs over that I think I'll remove it. I think the other points still stand, which is that it's an Oda protagonist. Like it's literally a previous Oda protagonist. I think a previous Oda protagonist is just it's a previous protagonist. And then the Black Blade feat, I didn't even put that down. I'll put it here. 1 of 2 black blades. Yeah. Again, only character to single-handedly scare off entire world from an island, a very valuable island. That's the big thing for centuries. It's not just any island. It's a valuable island. Strange Brew, thanks for the 20. Do you find it fair to say that Mihawk has greater sword skills than Shanks, but that they would still be on the same relative tier of sword skill? Then Shanks, with Haki compared to Joy Boy, should make up that smaller gap. So I think it's been fairly clear in One Piece that Haki is part of sword fighting. So if you're coding your blade and using sword swings, that falls into the category of sword fighting, right? Zoro and Mihawk are going to fight with sword fighting. Anytime that I'm saying that Shanks seems to be stronger than Mihawk, it's based on 2 things. The narrative in general hypes up Shanks way more in way more scenes from way more characters, way more statements, way bigger role, impact in the story, etc. And beyond that, right, you could say, well, none of that matters because the swordsmanship thing. Beyond that, it has been consistently implied that there is more to Conqueror's Haki that we have yet to see. And whatever is left to see of Conqueror's Haki does not necessarily have to be tied to swordsmanship. It does not have to be tied to sword coding. We've already seen glimpses of that with Joy Boy's Haki knot. For me, Joy Boy's Haki moment essentially, like, it's about as significant of a reveal that there is Conqueror's Haki attacks that have nothing to do with coding as you can get in the story before we actually see that in straight up combat. It felt like that's Oda's teaser to that next level of Haki ability, which is just, you can do shit with Conqueror's Haki without coding jack shit. Like, you can just defeat 4 top tiers at the same time with just a Conqueror's Haki blast. So, with that being a reality and the fact that Shanks' Haki is compared to stuff like that, like, I don't think Mihawk's beating 4 Gorosei at the same time. I don't think that's happening. You know? I don't think that's happening. But it's implied that a Conqueror's Haki Blast like that can. So I think that Shanks could scale above Mihawk as we continue to learn more about Conqueror's Haki, because it's been clearly established enough at this point that there is more to see that we have yet to see, and it's been heavily implied that Shanks is kind of the pinnacle of Haki as far as characters alive in the world today. But if they're fighting with just Haki related to sword-coded attacks, right, physical Haki clashes, like with physical weapons and stuff, Mihawk should win, for sure. So that's how I kind of view it. Now, that might be wrong. We might see down the line that, just straight up Shanks can't do anything outside of coding his sword with Haki, in which case Mihawk is just straight up stronger. But I think we've got a lot of stuff in the narrative that indicates that, again, even just from the Joy Boy moment and then the comparison to Shanks, I think from that moment on, it's kind of just like, okay, if Shanks could hypothetically do that to all the Gorosei at once, I don't think Mihawk can do that to all the Gorosei. I think that kind of is nudging Shanks ahead overall. Continuing on, again, that could be wrong. I'm just going off of speculation. Black Lightning, thanks for the 10. In that whole raid, Kaido was not taking any real damage because the only people who did real damage to him are Luffy, Yamato, and Zoro. Everyone else was too shallow. I agree, but you could argue that Kaido, it was at least using up endurance. Like, even if you're running a marathon, you're not bleeding out the whole time, but you're still going to be fucking tired by the end of the marathon. So Kaido definitely was handicapped. He was factually not handicapped by holding up the island. That's literal headcanon that readers made up. That was disproven on screen, like on paper. So that's not a debate. There was no handicap factually. The thing that did handicap Kaido is that he did take damage beforehand and he was likely tired. The problem is that Luffy was objectively, in very, very clear terms, stated to be at lower health than Kaido once the Gear 5th section of the fight began. So there's no real debate. Like, you can only debate Kaido above Gear 5th Luffy if you go with headcanon. Because on screen it's established Island is not holding him back at all. And Luffy's in worse health than him when their fight starts. Kizaru was unfazed by the Haki too, because only the Gorosei were the ones that were being hit by the direct blast. Kizaru was with the Vice Admirals, like kind of far away, so it would be weird if Kizaru got knocked out by that shit. That would be embarrassing. But the Vice Admirals and Kizaru, they were fairly far away. The Gorosei took the full, like, straight up force of the attack. That's not even debatable, because, like, the simple comparison is, like, Luffy at Fishman Island. He could only knock out the fishmen that were closest to him, because obviously the range of your Conqueror's Haki is going to be stronger up close, right? Half the fishermen still survived, not because they had such strong wills, but because they're further back. It doesn't change the fact, no matter how you want to spin it, doesn't change the fact that, like, 4 top tiers were defeated by it, right? Or at least semi-top tiers, close to top tiers. And Kizaru is implied to be, like, Gorosei are roughly implied to be, like, Admiral level-ish, right? I don't think anyone would say that Gorosei are a whole tier below Kizaru or anything like that. They're roughly around the same ballpark. Even if you think Kizaru one-on-one beats any Gorosei, it's not like he's head and shoulders above them. So it's still roughly like defeating 4 admirals, TDM9, thanks for the 5. Shanks is top tier. However, I always felt that it would have been better if he were the weakest Yonko, still strong, but had the strongest crew. He has the weakest crew, which is the fleet, and therefore he and his crew, the core, have to be the strongest to protect them. So it's kind of like, if you're a good guy, you need to be even stronger than the bad guys to be able to protect. I think that makes sense. Kosh Panda says, Morj, put Warcury above Luffy. I gotta think on that one, because that is actually a fair debate. I might do that. That's a good point. I think I might have to. You're right, Akash Panda. Warcury. Objectively, even Gear 5 Luffy cannot damage him. Cannot even scratch him. Definitely best tank in the story. Larger Conqueror's Haki release than Kaido / Big Mom. Only reason putting him below them is out of respect for Yonko and their longer tenure, even if his I don't really know what the argument is. Out of respect for the long tenure, even if he has better feats. All right, now we're getting tricky. I'm going to go ahead and put Shiki. My video's blocking the text. Ah, shit. Okay, thanks, Akash Panda. I'm going to go ahead and put Shiki. Black Lightning, thanks for the 10. Oda established early abilities outside sword skills, is still part of swordsmanship strength with Zoro for a sword fight with the lion dude, then Kaku and so on. That's why the Shanks argument falls flat. The simple problem is that, like, how is World's Strongest Swordsman decided? Right? It's decided by a sword duel. That's it, right? Like, you fight with a sword duel. We know that that's how it's going to be decided when it comes to Zoro and Mihawk. We know that that was what the challenge was being thrown down when Zoro challenged Mihawk and Baratier. It's just understood that you fight with swords, and then the winner is the world's strongest swordsman. So again, I just don't think it's that complicated. I think people overcomplicate the discussion. World's strongest swordsman, you fight with swords, winner is the world's strongest swordsman, right? That's pretty much it. If you put down the sword and do other shit, then it wouldn't really be a sword fight anymore, would it? It would objectively stop being a sword fight. Or if you use attacks that have nothing to do with the sword at all, then the sword's just for show. It's not really a sword fight. Okay. Shiki. Okay, hold on. Let me just get these guys out. I think Shiki might be above Scopper, Gabon. I think Kong is like a very strong admiral, basically. And let's start kicking some of these guys out. Where would I put Blackbeard? I think I'd put Blackbeard a little bit above Fujitora. I might be shuffling some of this around. I haven't thought this fully through just yet. This is a really tricky area. I think Odin's above Shiki. Or Shiki's above Odin. I think Shiki's above Odin. I think Blackbeard would beat Kizaru because I think the matchup is really rough for Kizaru. Because darkness versus light, I think negating Kizaru's Devil Fruit powers would really fuck up Kizaru. I think Kizaru has a better shot versus more characters though. Like, because Blackbeard can get fucked up by a lot of random shit like we saw in the Law fight. L, thanks for the 2. What about Venus, Juro, and Mars? I'm thinking about him. I'm thinking about where to put him. And Loki. I think Loki's probably above Green Bull. This is really hard. I think Saturn does not make the list. I think Jupiter does not make the list, okay? So I think Mars is above Green Bull. I think Mars is above Green Bull. I don't know where the fuck Prime Kong goes. I think Prime Kong was a fleet admiral, so I think this is fair. Maybe even higher. Kong might go higher. Prime Kong. Shit. I might put Shiki up. I might move Shiki. I think Shiki might be moving up in the world for me. I think Shiki might be moving up in the world. I think Shiki might be above Luffy right now. Just because time limit shit, I don't know. I think Shiki's a very difficult character to place. I think I might have had Odin too high. Dick so small, I pissed on him all thanks to 5. Kaku put down his sword, but Zoro still proved he was the stronger swordsman by winning. You're right, but at the same time, like, I think at a certain point they stopped like, once he was in giraffe mode, I think they stopped talking about it being a swordsmanship fight. Then Kaku went back to swords. But at the end of the day, Kaku just referred to his blades as essentially being swords, right? I think that's very different than just, like, I don't think it's that complicated. Again, like, ultimately, Amanidachi is Kaku's ultimate attack, right? Like, it's a kicking attack because he's counting his blade, he's counting his blades as swords. His legs as blades, right? He's turning his legs into blades, essentially, right? Amanidachi is a cutting attack, right? You know what's clearly, like, do you guys, we've all seen it. Like, I don't know what's so confusing, all right? I don't know what's so confusing, okay? We've all read the chapter, right? Have we all read the chapter? I don't know why this needs to be continually beaten to death. Look. This is the chapter. All right? Is this a sword attack? Can anyone tell me? Is this a sword attack? By any definition whatsoever. Right? Is Joy Boy kicking wind blades or something? Like, is this a sword attack? I'm sorry. I don't know why. This is not complicated. Jolly Joe says I missed some supers. Let me catch them in a second. Let me do a poll. Is this a sword attack? Yes. No. Jolly D. Joestar, thanks for the 5. Kaido's clouds are weakening while he was fighting Luffy, pre-gear 5, stated by Yamato. Yes, but that only reflects, that only establishes one thing, right? It only establishes one thing, which is that Kaido's stamina is at least reflected by the clouds. It does not establish that the clouds are using Kaido's stamina. The simple way of being able to tell whether or not the clouds were using Kaido's strength or not, the simple way would be seeing Kaido with the clouds on and with the clouds off. If the clouds are turned off and his strength is exactly the same, then they're not a handicap. That is the definition of a handicap. Okay? If I'm struggling to lift up a weight or something like that, like Kaido is struggling to lift up the island supposedly, and those weights are removed, right? Then I should be able to move more freely, right? If that doesn't happen, then those weights were not a handicap in the first place. The weights were weightless, right? It's only a handicap if there's a difference in the before and after. Kaido's final clash with Luffy started with him holding up the clouds and the island. That was then removed and nothing changed, meaning that there was no energy being used by that. He wasn't stronger after the island clash. Like, it's just an objective fact. Like, if you want to argue objective facts, Kaido was shown to be, in the story, exactly as strong with the island being held up or without the island being held up. Exactly the same. That means canonically, there is no, it's in the story. Canonically, there is no difference. There is no difference. There's no handicap. It means factually, like, it's just something that it's beyond headcanon, because it's like, whatever the word is for if something is shown in the story and you still try and argue as though that didn't happen, right? It would be like if readers kept saying that, oh, you know what? Zoro would be stronger if he opened his eye. Zoro would be stronger if he opened his eye. He'd be stronger if he opened his eye. And then Zoro opens his eye and nothing changes and he's exactly the same. You can no longer argue that he was handicapped by having his eye closed because we're shown in the story that it's not a handicap. There's no argument for the Kaido thing. It doesn't exist. It's in your head. It's on the paper that it's not a handicap. That's what happened. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's like, well, what if Kaido didn't have to hold the island up? It's like, motherfucker, he didn't. He didn't. Luffy defeats him with the island not having to be held up. He doesn't have the fucking losing my mind. He doesn't have the flame clouds up. It's not a hypothetical. It happened and nothing changed. There's no question mark. There's no like, what if? Like, I wonder how much stronger he'd be. He'd be that strong enough to lose the Bajrangan clash, like he did. That's what would happen. Okay, interesting. All right, everybody, hold up. So it seems that 72% of people are saying that this is not a sword attack. So to me, that's pretty much it. It is extremely interesting that 30% of people would go so far in their Mihawk bias that they would genuinely, maybe people are trolling, but you would genuinely try and argue that this is still a sword attack. I think that just kind of reflects how the Shanks Mihawk debate is kind of just like hitting your head against a wall. Because there's just, like, it's just, if you genuinely want to maintain that this is still technically a sword attack somehow, then it's just not a good faith discussion, right? You're being very disingenuous, right? Unless people are voting yes to troll, which I imagine is some portion of the population. But that's it, right? Like, it's not that complicated. It's like, we don't have to get into technicalities of, like, oh, well, Kaku's using a wind blade, or, like, Kabuji used a unicycle and shit. It's like, okay, well, this isn't really the same, right? I think everyone can universally agree that Joy Boy is not a swordsman and he's not using a sword attack here, right? And then the very next chapter, it's established that this is similar to what Shanks could seemingly do, or at least that's what's being implied in the story. All right? So is Joy Boy defeating the Gorosei here with a sword attack? No. He's defeating all 4 Gorosei, right? Kicking all 4 Gorosei's ass, making Imu shit himself with a Haki wave, which is not a sword attack. It has nothing to do with a sword. And then it's implied that Shanks can do something very similar. So what is the discussion that you all are trying to get to here? Like, I'm genuinely fucking confused. All right. K-Maya says, I do not think that is a sword attack. I would agree. I think the fact that there are some people who are so blinded by their sword fanaticism that they still legitimately view this as a sword attack just shows that it's just not a discussion worth having with a certain fan base. All right, continuing on. Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. There is no sword in the panel, so how do you make the comparison? The point is that the sword is irrelevant. That's the whole point. The comparison is that there's no fucking comparison because the sword is irrelevant to the discussion. It wouldn't magically be a sword attack if there happened to be a sword in the panel because it's not a fucking sword attack. The attack has nothing to do with the presence of a sword or not a sword. If Emeth was holding a sword, think about it like this. All right. Simple thought experiment. If Emeth was holding a sword, and then with his other hand, he releases the knot, and Joy Boy's Haki explodes out, takes out the Gorosei, is it now a sword attack because Emeth was holding a sword? Let me do that poll. I'm genuinely curious. If Emeth was holding a sword and then untied the knot, is it now a sword attack? Yes. No. I was gonna do a cheeky response, but I'm just not gonna. Because you realize that scenario is literally exactly what it would be if there are genuinely more people. Most people are saying no because that's just rational. Okay, thank you. You realize that would, so like that's actually a perfect little thought experiment because it would literally be the exact same scenario if Shanks was holding a sword but just released a giant Haki wave, right? Exact same scenario because the sword is not relevant to the attack. The sword is a fucking prop that the sword essentially becomes the same thing as Shanks's shoes or his fucking coat or his shirt. It's not a fucking sword attack. It's just the same. It's the same thing. For the same thing for Emeth. The Haki that he's releasing has nothing to do with this. The sword is irrelevant. It's a prop. It's just an inanimate thing that he happens to be holding. The sword could be a fucking flute or a fucking guitar. It doesn't matter. I'm just like, the fact that 30% of people still voted yes is just like insane, and again just shows that like I don't even fucking understand. All right. Most MOH says Emeth would be a swordsman. In that case, it would be a sword attack. So I don't know if you're trolling or not, but like, I don't know if you're trolling or not. All right, let's keep moving. All right. Missing anything else? I think I'm missing no other supers right now. Dix a small piss on the ball, thanks to the 5. The question comes back to why would Shanks' Haki be weaker on a sword versus a raw blast when it's the same Haki? I don't know. Maybe Shanks is shitty at coding it. I don't know. We literally don't know. Like, why does Ashura fucking spawn extra arms and stuff for Zoro out of Haki? We don't know everything about Haki at this point. Why is Madame Charlie able to see like a million years into the future? All that's established. Like, the only thing that's established from that moment is that, yeah, you can have the strongest attack in the series be just a normal Haki wave. That's it. You're asking like, why would you and this and that? And it's like, I'm not Oda. I'm just telling you what's on the page. What's on the page? Strongest Haki feat in the entire story, defeating 4 top tiers. Correct? No sword required. Correct? Nothing to do with sword. Not a swordsmanship move. Finally, it's implied in story, not by me, not by you, not by anybody else. In story, the author implies that Shanks can do something similar. That's it. Like, it's just 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. You're saying like, but have you thought about this? Why would Shanks be doing this? Like, that's not for me to fucking answer. I'm just fucking reading what the story is saying, and it's like, okay, it was strongest attack in the story, nothing to do with fucking swordsmanship. It's implied that Shanks can do something similar. Okay, so nothing to do with swordsmanship, puts him in a different category than Mihawk, so that feat's above what I personally think Mihawk can do at this point based on, Vista and Crocodile and all that shit. So I think that I'm going to put Shanks above him at the moment. If it turns out that Shanks can't do shit like that and he can only use a sword, then Mihawk goes back above Shanks. It's pretty straightforward. I don't know why it's like trying to like what do you want me to say? Like, why would he do that? It's like, I don't know. Why did Odin fucking dance for like 5 fucking years? We had to wait for Oda to answer that question, didn't we? Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. Lol, so tell me, is Shanks at his strongest with his sword or without it? How the fuck would we know until we see Shanks fight? I don't... you'd think these are some gotcha questions, but they're not. It's just like, so you're basically saying, let's read the story and find out. I'm just telling you what we've read the story and been shown and implied, right? So let's read the story and find out. That's it. L. True, just like Fujitora's gravity attacks. Yeah, I don't think like a meteor is a fucking part of swordsmanship. I still think Mihawk beats Fujitora overall, because overall I think that Mihawk, advanced conquerors, Haki user, shit like that, probably above Fujitora. But, if Fujitora's fucking calling meteors down or something, that's got nothing to do with swordsmanship, does it? The Low Man, thanks for the 5. Shanks never fought without a sword, and he's stated to be one Mihawk slams. Yeah, he can be a swordsman, and Mihawk is a stronger swordsman than him. Saying Shanks never fought without a sword is basically saying Shanks has never fought anybody in the story besides Kid, which is true, right? He's fought Kid once, and he one-shotted him. Is your argument just that Shanks fought once against Kid, and therefore that is we now know everything. We now know everything about the way Shanks fights. John678, thanks for the 2. Let me know. I'm literally just. This is actually insane. I'm curious. Okay. why are people in such a fucking state upset about this particular topic? Like, it's pretty straightforward, right? Is this a sword attack? No. Does it have anything to do with using a sword? No. Does it overwhelm 4 top tiers at the same time? Yes. Is that the most impressive feat in One Piece? Yes. Okay. So these are all yeses. This is nothing like. I really don't know. I just really don't know. Is that then compared to Shanks' Haki? Yes. I'm so confused. Why are you guys acting like this is like some sort of crazy, like Morj, where are you even pulling this shit from? I just showed you the 2 chapters. Would you guys like the links to the 2 chapters? What do you want? What do you want from me? I'm just fucking reading the story and what, like, I'm reading the story and showing you panels from the story and statements from the story and giving you guys polls. Like, is this a sword attack? Yes, no. Yes, no. Is it a, like, what's the glaze here? What's happening? I'm even saying, like, look, if turns out Shanks doesn't do anything outside the sword thing, if the Joy Boy comparison was just random, then Mihawk will go back above Shanks. Right? Shanks is 10, Mihawk's 11, nothing crazy. You guys are acting like the world, like the sky's falling or something like that. It's like, Morj, how dare you show us panels of Joy Boy using top tier Haki and defeating top tiers without using a sword? How dare you show us that? And then how dare you show us the following panel of it being stated that, yeah, Shanks is about comparable? How dare you show us that? Is that what you're saying? Are you upset about that? I don't understand. You're banging your head against the wall? I think so. Your premise is flawed. I just want to understand. I think I just want understanding at the end of the day. I think I just want to understand where the Mihawk fans are coming from. Like, why is it so outrageous when, like, we've got chapters, we've got pages, we've got statements? Like, why is it so outrageous to be like, no, Shanks can't do, like, it just has to be Shanks can't do anything without a sword. It's like, motherfucker, like, I read 1122 and 1123. It's 2 chapters in a row. It's just like, did you not like the ending of Egghead? Is that it? Your premise is flawed? I listed 4 premises and a conclusion following from those premises. Which one of those is incorrect? Is it incorrect that Joy Boy's Haki knot did not use a sword? Is that incorrect? Is it incorrect that it was a Haki feat that overwhelmed 4 top tiers and made Emu shit his pants? No, that's correct. Is it incorrect that it's implied that Shanks can do something similar? No, that's correct. All of these premises are factually correct. Like, this is like debating, I don't know, like, can Whitebeard create 2 tidal waves or something like that? Like, I'm showing you panels that happened in the story. There's nothing to debate here, you know? We're going to move on. All right. Muhammad Sahel, thanks for the 5. Mr. Morj, Databook Red says Shanks was once on par with the world's strongest swordsman. Doesn't this imply he is no longer as strong as Mihawk? I get you about portrayal, though. Databooks are not canon. If you brought up a Vivre card, that'd be interesting. Okay. All right. The sword isn't a wand that focuses his Haki. All right, continuing on. We're getting to the end of this. Gigi says the problem is that you're using that as a KO argument that Shanks is stronger than Mihawk, which it isn't. No, because Mihawk fans are so insecure that they can't even deal with gray areas or nuance. They have to make it so black and white because they're so scared that Shanks might be a stronger character than Mihawk. I'm using that as the argument that Shanks might be stronger than Mihawk, that the window is open. At this moment in time, I think that Joy Boy feat is more impressive than anything has been implied that Mihawk can do. Shanks is being scaled towards that Joy Boy feat. I'm going to put Shanks above Mihawk, combined with other aspects of how Shanks is built up in the story, potential role, etc., right? That doesn't mean that Shanks is definitely above Mihawk, or as though this is, like, going to be really, really terrible or, like, impossible for Mihawk to be above Shanks. That's the thing. That's all, like, I've kept reiterating that all the arguments I'm making are basically things that suggest that the window is definitely open for Shanks to be above Mihawk. It's not a shut door. And 2, at this moment in time, enough things seem to suggest to me that Oda hypes Shanks more, and I'm going to put him above him at the moment, but maybe things can change. I think with Mihawk fans, it comes from a sense of fear that, like, if we engage with anything else that the story is telling us outside of, like, a Black Blade and the title, then suddenly, like, the whole Mihawk argument falls apart. I don't know. All right, we're going to continue. Shiki. I think Luffy should be above Shiki at this point. I'm underplaying Luffy. I do think Shiki's probably above Kong. Kong, former fleet admiral, I think above Aokiji. I think Aokiji above Odin. I think Odin probably past Scopper. I think Blackbeard is a rough matchup for Kizaru. I think Blackbeard probably... Nah, because Blackbeard was getting... Okay, hold on. Nah, because Kizaru wouldn't get fucked up by Law like that. Okay, and Venus Jura is going to be my last in the 30. Alright, here we go. Alright. Shiki is hard to rank. Let's be real. Shiki is hard to rank. Let's get the stream looks up to 250 because we're in our final 10. Shiki is hard to rank. Garp and Sengoku together had to beat him, but I don't know if they had to beat him. Together beat him, but outside of that, he's not built up as a legend in same breath as Yonko, C957, and interaction with Whitebeard in Chapter 0 implies Shiki knows he's not on Whitebeard's level. Kong, Fleet Admiral during strongest pirate era, still likely below Garp / Sengoku, but in prime likely above typical admirals. Venus Juro. I think Venus Juro might be higher than Khan. I don't know. Feels weird. I don't really know. Could be a few spots up or down. Seems like third strongest Gorosei after Garling / Warcurie. Best speed feats besides Kizaru. Mihawk light in term, or Mihawk-esque sword slashes, ice powers, infinite regen. Probably solidly close to Yonko level. Aokiji, nearly tied with, equal to pre-TS Akanu, held his own against old Whitebeard, held his own against old Garp, likely stronger than current admirals by a bit. Scopper, I really don't know. Might be close to Odin. He's Rogers. Sanji, so I expect at least admiral level. Kizaru, good standard example of admiral level. Not much to say. hard to scale Egghead feats because he was sad and Luffy was fucking around in their first fight. Blackbeard, broken abilities, but hasn't shown much haki, and problem is he gets tagged by lots of stuff. Example, law. Seem deal with higher characters take hard to imagine him winning advanced combatants above that have actually good haki, unlike law. Tora, solid, strong admiral. Loki, might be way higher up the list, honestly, because seems like, seems like Conqueror's Haki user and potentially one of strongest mythical zones. Putting him here to be conservative, wouldn't be surprised if he's near top 20. Mars, I think Mars should be higher. I think Mars should be higher. He's a Gorosei. I just don't know how to rate the Gorosei right now. Infinite regen. Seems like crazy haki needed to deal with it. Took team attack from Luffy, Sanji, Frankie, Bonnie to remove him. Jinbei said he had unreal haki. Hard to place, but characters below would have trouble. Below don't see what they would do to him. Yeah, I think the Gorosei are just very hard for me to place. Because it's the regen's such a complicated thing. For some of them, like Saturn and Jupiter, the regen's just like a inconvenience because you can slap them around so easily. So it almost doesn't matter. But then like with Mars, it was more like, okay, Mars, Venus, Juro, and Warkiri, all three of them were emphasized to be strong Conqueror's Haki users. So they're strong combatants regardless. Their Zoans seem much more potent than like a Jupiter or Saturn. And they legitimately were very difficult to deal with, even for strong characters. Like, Mars did take quite a bit to get them off the island. Oh, shoot. Am I blocking stuff? Hawkeye says Kaido equals Big Mom doesn't make any sense. It literally happened in the story. This is why power scaling is just such a difficult thing to get consensus on. Because, like, I mean, it's been happening all of this stream, but it's just, like, things can take place in the story itself, and it's just, like, readers will wipe it from their brain and say that it didn't happen. Dicks are small, piss on the wall, thanks to 5. It's not that something else in Shanks' arsenal greater than Shanks' swordplay is impossible, just very, very unlikely, because no swordsman has ever been like that. Yeah, but no character in the story has been shown to have Conqueror's Haki like Shanks, at least alive. So it's like, you know, what does that even mean? Like, no swordsman has ever done anything like Zoro's Ashura, but we know that's a thing. No character had released Haki like Joy Boy, but now we know that's a thing. I just don't view that as like a real argument, because it's just like, it's just, you're just deciding that you wouldn't like it to be the case. So you're saying it's not possible, but I'm saying it literally, like, we don't know. And all I can go off of is like, is that, like, okay, I think of it in very simple terms. I personally don't think it's likely, based on what Mihawk has shown so far, even though he's not shown much. I doubt that Mihawk could solo 4 Gorosei at the same time. Even, like, Luffy was struggling with just one. Like, year 5th Luffy. You know what I mean? I don't think anything in the story really implies that Mihawk can solo 4 Gorosei at the same time. In fact, before Joy Boy did it, I would have said that, like, any character doing it is insane. Then Joy Boy does it, and then we're told that Shanks' Haki is comparable. So I'm not just going to say, like, well, Mihawk can solo 4 Gorosei because Shanks can solo 4 Gorosei. That just seems weird, especially when it doesn't involve a sword. So I'm just taking it like we're reading it, which is like, okay, strongest Haki attack in the story so far, apparently a pure Conqueror's Haki blast. Apparently Shanks can do something similar. If you don't like that it was done without a sword, that's just you saying you don't like it, and you're saying, well, Shanks shouldn't be able to do that without a sword, or like, Shanks should have to do it with the sword. I'm just like, I don't really know what that means. It sounds more so like you just want Mihawk to be able to do something like that, rather than having any real argument for why Shanks has to do it with a sword, when that's not what's really implied. It's just a general Conqueror's Haki blast that overwhelmed the Gorosei and then drew the comparison to Shanks, you know? Akash Panda, thanks for the 5. Please do polls for end of story / epilogue, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Kobe, Sabo, Law, Kid, Katakuri, etc. Poll options can be top 3, 5, 10, 20, 30, not top 30, etc. Honestly, man, I need to eat dinner. So we might do chat to votes top 30, end of story later on. I think we might do that. I think that might be a separate topic. Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. You're arguing Haki is part of being a strong swordsman, but also saying that Shanks is stronger because of Haki. I'm saying that in a swordsmanship duel at the top level, yeah, Haki coding, like how much Haki you can coat, that's a big deal. Like Zoro versus Mihawk. Zoro's Haki coding needs to be at least like on Mihawk's level to do that. That's Haki coding. You're conflating two things. Me saying that Haki coding is necessary to fighting as a swordsman at the top level, right, and is a big part. That's not the same thing as me saying Shanks' general Conqueror's Haki release falls in the category of swordsmanship, right? Haki coding is the key piece that you're missing there. Haki coding has to do with swordsmanship. If Luffy's just walking around releasing Conqueror's Haki like at Fishman Island, that has nothing to do with swordsmanship. If Zoro just releases Conqueror's Haki to knock people out, that has nothing to do with swordsmanship, even though he has swords strapped to his waist. That would not have any relevance in a sword battle. I just don't understand what the complication is with this. I just don't understand anytime Mihawk versus... That's the thing. There's too many mental gymnastics anytime Mihawk versus Shanks comes up. It's just like... to the point that it's just like people will argue that Joy Boy is not was a sword move. It's just like, you all know it's not. You all know it's like, why are you pretending? You know it's not. It never feels like a good faith argument. It always feels like some sort of like jigsaw puzzle to try and argue why like why it's impossible for why Shanks just has to only use a sword, even though the narrative tells us that no, it literally does not have to be the case. The strongest attack we've ever seen had nothing to do with a sword. It was just plain Haki. I don't know. Not Haki coding. Not like Haki future sight or anything. It is just Haki. I don't know. L says, miss my super but might cause an argument. I can catch it. I'll catch all supers before it ends. Let's see. Where was L's comment? L says, true, just like Fujitori's... No, L, I caught that. I caught that one. I caught that one. You might have missed it, but I answered that one. Is there anything else? Peter Falk, thanks for the 5. With Akanu being in his 50s, I don't think he would have unlocked Conqueror's Haki later in life. It's in someone's nature, it seems, but maybe he's always had it. I think if anything would have unlocked it, it would be the Aokiji battle. Because that's like a battle for supremacy to become Fleet Admiral. So it's kind of like, even though it's late in his life, it's a progression of his journey and his, like, unlocking his ambition in a sense. So it might not happen, but, you know, it could be possible. Elle said, what about Venus, Juro, and Mars? I think I got those. Okay, I think I'm caught up there. L, thanks for 2. Akanu might be over Mihawk. Sorry, Mihawk D-Riders. I mean, he might be. I think Akanu could be a little bit above both Mihawk and Shanks. Tom, thanks for the 2. Where's Prime Emeth or Poseidon from the Void Century? We are not including those 2. Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. Did you know you can you code Conqueror's Haki on a sword? That's called the advanced form, so stronger than any base release. I mean, yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm very well aware of that. However, apparently, the strongest technique ever shown in the story is just a normal Conqueror's Haki release. So, what do we got to say about that? So apparently you can just use Conqueror's Haki. That's the first time we ever saw Conqueror's Haki used as an attack, right? So you could interpret it as like something you don't like, the implication of, or you could interpret it as like face value, which is like, oh, Conqueror's Haki, just the normal release, can be used as an attack as well. You can just unleash Conqueror's Haki waves. No coding required. It can still be an attack. I don't know what the complicated, like, it's not that complicated. Like, it's just not like you're trying to like, it's like trying to like fit a square peg into a round hole. You know? Missed El's latest super. I think I got his latest super because it's the Fujitora one. I caught that one. Oh, no, I caught the Kainu might be over Mihawk. I caught that one. It's just, like, what do you want to hear? Do you want to hear, like, again, all I could do is list off the facts, right? Haki Knot, strongest attack in the story. First use of Conqueror's Haki as an attack that's not coding, right? Physical attack that like actually just straight up has physical effects to overwhelm opponents and defeat top tier opponents. Right? Not a swordsmanship move. It's implied Shanks can do the same thing. I don't know what else the people want. If all of those things follow, then that opens the door to Shanks being above Mihawk because it's not sword related. If you want me to point out the line in the story that says Haki attacks, like the strong, like Haki attacks are only Conqueror's coding or something like that. That line unfortunately doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So you will have to wait in the story till Oda drops a line like that or shows us Shanks' full kit, Mihawk's full kit, whatever. I don't know what, because you're trying to like come up with like, well, Morj, does that mean you're implying this or that? I'm not implying jack shit. I'm just looking at what the story's given us. 11:22, 11:23. Oh. Big Haki attack, biggest Haki attack possible, strongest attack in the story, not swordsmanship related. Shanks can apparently do it. All right, well, that opens the door. That just means the door's open. Y'all want the door to stay closed so badly that you just like ignore stretches of the story because you just need the door to stay closed. You're afraid of the door even being opened. I'm saying like it could be either way. Could be Shanks, could be Mihawk. I think Alexa Step. I think it's Shanks at the moment. Maybe it's Mihawk, but you guys are so scared. It's just like, no. It has to be, the door has to be closed. We have to ignore any possibilities. Joy Boy's biggest Haki move in the entire story, crazy thing, no sword involved. We are literally going to vote that it was a sword attack because we are so scared of the discussion that this raises. That's just my frustration with the Mihawk fan base. That's all I got to say. All right, everybody. On that, we are going to close this stream. Thank you all for coming through. Thank you all for the support. This was truly an all-time top 30. This is why the top 30 had to be in my hand instead of voted by chat. Chat, we can maybe do an end of story rankings or something like that. But just to avoid any sort of, outrageous claims and argument, I just had to cover this one. Next one, we'll let the people vote. Frosty, thanks for 10. Joy Boy's Haki did not defeat them. They just retreated. They also don't say Shanks' Haki is that strong. Joy Boy's Haki wasn't aimed at the Giants. They couldn't feel all of it. Do you think Dory and Brogy are... Let me ask you this. Do you think Dory and Brogy are real characters? Or do you think that perhaps the author writes words on pages and uses characters as mouthpieces to communicate ideas to the reader? Do you think that Dory and Brogy are real individuals that exist in the real world? Or do you think that Oda uses dialogue for certain reasons? First answer that. All right. And as for Joy Boy's Haki did not defeat them, they just retreated. That is an argument that I literally can never give any weight, because that's an argument that unfortunately only ever started being stated by people after 1123. If you can find me, this is homework for y'all, homework for everybody, okay? For the Mihawk fans. If you can find me from reactions to 1122, before chapter 1123 came out, if you can find me reactions from 1122 of people downplaying Joy Boy's Haki feat, and people saying that wasn't that impressive, or he didn't actually beat all the Gorosei, or like, this wasn't the most impressive attack in the story. If you can find me that from reactions of 1122, this is your homework. Find me comments, posts, whatever, that are dated from then, right? Before 1123 came out, because 1123 is when it was compared to Shanks, and then suddenly all of the backpedaling happened. So I can't really take those arguments seriously because it's purely based on, you know, the agenda that, oh no, we can't let this hype up Shanks. Because they didn't know it's hyping up Shanks when the chapter 1122 came out, when the Haki moment happened. They didn't know it's hyping up Shanks. So then everyone's being honest with their reactions and basically saying, holy shit, Joy Boy soloed the Gorosei and basically made Imu shit his pants from beyond the grave. Most impressive Haki feat ever. I remember that was the unanimous reaction. That's why I put out a video right afterwards talking about, like, yeah, Joy Boy might be the strongest character in One Piece. And the comments were unanimously yes. It's only, the controversy only came up, and this claim that, oh, it's not that impressive, it only made them retreat after 1123 because it was turned out to be a feat that indirectly scaled Shanks, right? So I'm just not taking that as any sort of a good faith argument. It's disingenuous if it's coming from a place of like, well, we can't use it to scale Shanks. If you can find your own comments or something from that chapter, you know, 1122, find your own comments, find Twitter posts, find Reddit, find YouTube, whatever. Yeah, I challenge you, Mihawk fans, please find from 1122 people downplaying what Joy Boy did. It only happened after the Shanks comparison, so it's not real. It's not a real argument, you know. It doesn't really hold weight. Joshua Tucker, thanks for the 2. You have 4 Roger Pirates above Blackbeard. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of story, Blackbeard will be fucking high up as fuck. But at the moment, you know, Blackbeard's still... If Zoro went huff-huff with Luchi, Blackbeard went huff-huff with Law, which is pretty embarrassing. The Lowman, thanks for the 2. Aokiji should be next to Akanu. You gotta read my... this is why I have the... Look, if he is still on... I gave the explanations for a reason. If he's still at pre-time skip level, then he's way lower down the list, 1 spot above Aokiji. So I actually have that already accounted for. Alright, guys. This is the top 30. If you have any questions or critiques of it, just read the reasoning. Right? Some of them I like outright state are poor reasonings, you know? Ragan might be a stupid pick. Garling might be well, Garling I didn't write, he's a stupid pick because I didn't have space. But, yeah, I'm not confident in a lot of these. It's just, it is what it is. Alright. Alright, everybody. Alright. We are going to call it a day on this. For real. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It got contentious around 2 particular characters as per usual, largely because one faction does not like the idea of, you know, nuance or gray areas and feels adamant that doors to any discussion have to be shut. Fortunately, it's just not the way things work. There is nuance in discussion to all of these discussions. I mean, hell, you have like characters straight up like Garp beating Aokiji's ass along with the rest of the Blackbeard pirates until they have to cheat for several chapters in a row, and people will still argue Aokiji above old Garp, right? Like, that's how insane the story is. That's how much things are open to interpretation. So it's just the way things go. But yeah, I think this is a solid top 30. I think as the story goes on, we'll have more characters moving up the list, down the list, kicking some characters off the list, probably as we learn more from the God Valley flashback, maybe as we learn more about the Gods Knights, things like that. All right, everybody. We are going to call it here. Thank you very, very much. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I will talk to you all later.